Hey there, comic friends. I'm Travis, and it's time for their Comic Book Roundtable. How's it going, everybody?
Good.
Pretty good.
It's a wonderful evening. I've got my panel here today. I'll quickly introduce everybody at one end, or at least for my computer. We've got Brandon McHammer down there. Next to that, we have...
You're echoing, I hear.
Oh, no!
Is that what happened?
Yes. I am such a noob. How about that? First time running one of these shows. Next to that, I have Christina. And then I have Luke from Luke Batman Reviews.
Bow bow.
and then Mike, Sergeant America. And we're here to talk comics. And we agreed we're going to...
I wasn't prepared.
I know. I didn't read any at all this week. I know for some of us this was a huge week of comics. Like all of my comic books came the last week of the month, I guess. I didn't get them all read. I think I got like 27 or 28 books this week, so that's pretty disgusting. But I got a lot. But we'll talk some comics. Let's talk DC first. So what do we want to talk DC-wise? Is there something that we all got?
I'm trying to think.
Did everybody get this?
I did not. Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
I got it, but I haven't read it yet, so.
Of course, everyone got the Katana cover.
Yeah. Well, the Deadshot one was just, it was all right.
Yeah, it's just, this one's cool looking.
Yeah.
That's a great piece of art on its own. So yeah, so this is the Suicide Squad Most Wanted, Deadshot and Katana. So $5 book, but it's basically two
Worth
books
it.
right? It's two books put together, so you're getting two stories in here. What do we think?
The Katana story really seemed to shine. I mean, the Deadshot one just seems to be getting ready to set it up. I mean, it's wonderful Floyd Lawton. He's got the stash. He's, rocking the shots. He is what he is. I think it made it a little darker than sometimes what we've seen him as. But, I thought it was all right. I guess I was looking forward to the Katana storyline. So.
Same here.
Yeah, so was I. I picked this up primarily for Katana because of Mike Barr being involved. Then Travis and I both are Batman the Outsiders fans.
Right. And he's one of the original. He's the original writer on it. Co-created it with Aparo, right? So the Deadshot's the first story in here. You, like Mike said, you get Deadshot in it. He's back to having the stash. He's a little more along the lines of the Deadshot that I'm used to seeing. Kind of a thing. He's kind of got his own thing going on. The book always gets dark when it has to do with his family. Any story I've ever seen that has to do with his family, it gets pretty dark on that. This other character that they have in there, does that feel like they're setting up a different Deadshot?
Yeah, the Cyclops guy.
I mean, or am I just reading into the fact that he's African American? We got this.
I need to think of that.
We got this Suicide Squad movie coming up that Smith is playing, which is fine. I don't have a problem with that whatsoever. That Will Smith is playing Deadshot. I mean, I don't see no reason the character can't be played by whoever. But I just wondered about that as I was reading. I'm like. Because other than he's like a Cyclops guy thing, he's got the same powers. He's a shooter.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what he does. He's a sniper, just like Deadshot is. And I just kept thinking, wow, is he going to go off and do his story, and then we're going to get this big story about this other character that's not even Deadshot. I'll be unfortunate if that happens. I think. So I don't
think so. In the Suicide Squad comic that's coming out shortly. I mean, the artwork shows, it's Lawton and Cheetah, and the writer was mentioning that he thinks Will Smith will have an influence. Lawton's skin, I think, will be a little darker, but it's going to be, I think, a merge of the two.
As long as they keep his mustache,
Yeah.
It's like Green Arrow's beard. You can't screw around.
Well, yeah. I mean, he wasn't the same when they took off his porn stash. It just kind of messes the whole thing up. So So yeah, and I mean going into this, I was excited for Katana, but also worried just because you were talking about a writer that I haven't seen him do any work. I haven't seen Bard do any works, since the, early mid '80s.
Can't think of anything either.
Right. So I was worried that, one of my complaints about some of these older writers come back to do stuff, they still write in the same writing style.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed this. I thought it worked really well. I mean, there's narrative in it. There's her thinking, to herself and whatnot, but it's not excessive. It's not the writer describing what the artist is drawing, which has always been a frustration of mine from some of those earlier comics. Kind of a thing.
I mean, something yet, but I know you were saying about that.
Right. I don't know. Some people really loved it. They loved it. They thought it was a great piece of nostalgia and loved it for that. For me, I just kind of thought it was unfortunate. But no, I mean, I thought this was really cool. I mean, it's interesting that in this that she's kind of like a member of the Justice League.
Yeah.
And I guess she was kind of a member of Justice League of America before the Forever War stuff. But other than that, she's really not. In the new 52, this universe, she really hasn't had an attachment to the Justice League.
Yeah, it's not like the Avengers where everyone's an Avenger.
Right. I mean, the Justice League is somewhat exclusive. I mean, So I thought that was interesting that they kind of mentioned that kind of offhandedly and whatnot. But
since it's Suicide Squad, do you think though that the setup will be her fall from the Justice League to being a prisoner?
Well, I don't know, because I was kind of curious about that, because like in the start of the New 52 when they relaunched, she was in Birds of Prey, but she's an assassin. I mean, she's full up an assassin. By the time we get to Justice League of America is recruiting her. Kind of Amanda Waller secretly basically is the person who's in charge of the Justice League of America, because basically America wanted their own version of the Justice League, and in that. They are seeking her out because she is the second most lethal assassin in all the world. Deathstroke being number one. I mean, and that's how they see her. They see her as being a killer, not a superhero, a killer. And then we haven't really seen her in comics other than briefly in her own tragic series.
And Birds of Prey, right? She was in Birds of Prey.
Birds of Prey first, right? Yeah. And then we really haven't seen her. And then we got this version of her, which is, I don't know, it's closer to the original Katana, which I'm much happier with, I guess.
Right, before she was just like way more crazy, just out there. Yeah. So like I said, I enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to what's next. I like who she's fighting against. Cobra is kind of a ridiculous but fun supervillain team. So,
and I thought it was solid art between the two. I especially liked in this one. I mean, even that. I mean, that was one of the looks of her that I thought was especially good, because it's very stylized at that point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I saw Bucciolato's name on there. Is he writing or is he coloring?
He's writing. He's writing the Deadshot. So,
okay.
I mean, I know. I think me and you, Luke, both have the same criticism. We wonder if he can finish the story out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
starts good and then. Yeah.
Right. So that's I'm kind of wondering, how that's going to be. But I think there's going to be an interesting story told with Deadshot. It has to do with Deadshot and his father, who, most of the time most people think his dad is dead, but in this it's implied that he's not dead, but dying. So.
And Deadshot wants to fix that. So.
Yeah.
Do we really know why Amanda Waller gave him that file? Or just for Waller to screw with him?
Yeah. Was it Waller that gave it to him? He said it was slipped under there, and she goes, "I know everything that goes on here," but I don't know if it was her in particular that did so.
It then.
But Waller's pretty devious. Maybe she knows that by giving him that information, and of course we're telling him no, he can't. She's just manipulating him further, right?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm suspect that we're gonna find out down the road that she's jerking his chain further. Would be my guess.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and I could see both of these stories leading to something like it's an open end to the Suicide Squad comic or to get everybody introduced for the movie, whatever. So when it comes to Buccella's ending, I mean, it could just be the feed into something else. So
right, I keep forgetting that she's in the movie.
Yep.
But I don't think she's gonna be. I think Deadshot and Harley are gonna be like the main guys, and all the rest of them are just gonna be background. Unfortunately, but
And Captain Boomerang probably. I think Captain Boomerang's gonna have a.
Crazy.
He's such a bombastic character. I think they're gonna play him so over the top that he's gonna come across kind of like Harley as just kind of nuts.
I don't think Katana's gonna be in that movie very much.
Yeah.
Well, and real quick, in that movie, the Native American, do we know who that is?
Is that Slipknot? I don't know.
All right. See, and I don't know him from the comics, so.
I don't know.
All right.
Truth be told, I haven't paid that. I mean, I watched that trailer once, and other than that, I haven't paid close attention to it. I plan on watching the movie, so I don't want to really know a whole lot.
No, I understand.
Well. Okay, what else we got? Luke, what'd you get?
Bow bow. Talk about Grayson.
Grayson.
I love how they did that. I mean, granted, it's like half the book when he's doing his theme song.
It's awesome. Are you kidding?
That's awesome. It was. I laughed. I was like, "This is crazy."
Yeah. Mike Silf is in chat is saying that yes, it's Slipknot, as far as who the Native American is in it. So.
Thanks.
Yeah. Anyway, so an awesome issue. I mean, I loved it. I mean, giant splash page of them jumping a Ferrari across the Alps, which is pretty funny. But yes, like half the comic is Grayson singing a theme song about himself and the other spies of them as they race across the world, basically taking out Spiral spies.
You could just tell Tiger was just getting ticked. He's like, "Will you just shut up?"
Right. He's singing along, and he calls the guy Tony the Tiger all the time, and it's like some bad. I don't know. It's just ridiculous. The lyrics to it are hilarious. The art is awesome. I mean, it starts out for all the ladies and the guys.
Yeah.
You got them in there.
The gratuitous Dick Grayson scene, you have to have it.
Right. Strutting away from the explosion on the beach, and that's when he starts his theme song about Agent 37, because of course he's number 37. There's all this great art as they're singing him, just little shots of them beating up other Spiral.
I mean, you could tell when a book's good, because if you look at the scope of what happened in this book, not a whole heck of a lot, but it was an awesome read. I loved it, even though nothing really happened. Oh, that's time to take that back. Not much happened.
Yeah, the very end.
Yeah,
the very end.
But
the very end sets up some interesting stuff. The last 4 or 5 pages. The head of Spiral chatting with the other groups that are hiring all these crazy assassins to take them out, because of course she needs to get rid of them because they're basically screwing up Spiral.
I mean, for those who don't know, I guess we should also say basically what Grayson and Tiger are trying to do now is take out Spiral. That's their big thing.
One agent at a time.
One agent at a time.
Yeah. And she hires basically a laundry list of crazies. Everything from Frankenstein, from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., from Agents of S.H.A.D.E., to a whole bunch of other menagerie of crazy people that are all have some sort of a beef with Grayson in one way or another.
Was that
or they don't want to deal with Spiral hounding them, so.
Yeah.
Grifter.
Grifter, I saw him.
That's what I thought it was.
If I had to really I really can't even criticize this book for it, because it's definitely not that fault. But if you read Robin more, and at the very end it says to be continued in Grace, I was just led to believe that we're going to get more of the tie-in what happened in Robin more. Clearly, it's not. We're kind of back to the status quo on Grayson as far as the story. Right.
And I just don't know if something's told out of order as far as that goes. To be quite honest, I love this issue. That was fun. Like I said, not a lot of plot forward movement, but it just was a great way to show a romp of a comic. I worry about this comic because we know there's going to be massive creator changes going on it. I'm not sure at this point because I keep seeing kind of conflicting information. If these people are coming back ever to it, what's going to happen in the meantime? Supposedly they're doing something else. The creators that are on this are going on to do something else that's going to further the Grayson mythos even further somewhere else in the DC universe. I don't know what that would be. Why can't they have it be in his book? I don't know, but
I just got this icky feeling it's not gonna. This whole rebirth thing, I don't know.
I'm not sweating the rebirth. I mean, I don't know. Is that what they're doing?
No,
Are they?
It might be like I don't know. I'm thinking maybe they're gonna go back to Nightwing at some point. I don't know. Is this the time that they do it? I don't know.
I hope not. I hope he never goes back to being Nightwing. To me, that feels like backwards. That we went. I mean, Dick Grayson's one of those few characters that actually has a progression. He's actually been allowed to kind of grow and evolve from sidekick to his own person to whatever, and it just feels like it's. I mean, they killed Nightwing. It's time for Nightwing to be done, or somebody else to be Nightwing, not him. To me, that just feels like he needs to go backwards. If he's going to go back to being truly a superhero and not a super spy, make him somebody new. Whatever the next progression is. I feel like. I feel like anything else is backwards. I don't know.
At this point, other spies know that Grayson is alive. Is that right? Or is the Hypno stuff still work?
Hypno's still running.
All right.
I mean, some people are immune to it or have ways around it and whatnot, but the Hypno's still running. Because he sings about that in his thing, about having the swirly face.
Okay, all right. That was my only thing. I didn't know if he's been re-exposed as being alive or not. All right.
Yeah. I mean, the Bat family, they all know he's alive. But yeah, so I mean, I really digged it. I mean, I don't know how many more issues we actually truly have with these creators on it. I worry that this storyline is going to just dangle, and it's going to be finished up by somebody who did not know what the original intention was. I mean, you can write from somebody else's notes, but are you really going to hit it like these guys would? I don't know. I'm going to keep getting it. I'm not going on dropping it because these guys aren't on it anymore. The next group may do fun stuff with it and keep it fun and keep it cool all the ways that it is. I don't know. I really enjoyed this issue. It was just a lot of fun. I chuckled all the way through it. It looks gorgeous. The art, the coloring, all just great stuff on it.
Do you want to take a quick dive into Batman and Robin Eternal real quick?
Sure.
Since we talked about the Hypnos, it does have a part in this story. Really, two subplots in this. We have basically the one that's going current is now that the orphan is captured by Helena and Dick. Remember back in that school in the early part of Grayson, the girls' school, whatever?
Right.
Well, that's what they have, much like we saw in Batman Eternal. We had Hush in a little glass dome. Same thing, they have Orphan in the school in this thing. They're trying to interrogate him. And you mentioned the Hypnos. Yeah, he tries the Hypnos, and Orphan kind of, he got kind of like an intel dump before someone told him about it, so he kind of built up an immunity initially to it. Initially, the Hypnos goes on, he's bleeding, and he's fine. So, but basically on that part of the story, we find out Harper does show up, and she goes to kind of talk smack to him, and in this thing she's really tight with Cassandra, but now the way it kind of ends, what he said is that Cassandra was brought back to Gotham to kill someone, and he's kind of looking at Harper. So is it maybe her mother she was targeted to kill? Because she's basically saying if you knew why she was going back there, you wouldn't be defending her. So you're kind of putting two and two together. Is that what really Cassandra was there for? Got detoured. Either way. The better part of the story, I thought, was the flashback, where we have Batman going back to issue number 1. We had the smoking gun killing the parents. Well, we revisit that. We find out what he did. And spoiler, whatever. Basically, pellet gun with some bullets that are projectile blood or whatever. So basically he shot the people, but tell mother that, yeah, I did it. So she showed up, and it looks like he killed those people. But lo and behold, the kid that was there was actually a agent for Mother. So she was one of Mother's children. So it all twists back. big fight between Batman and Orphan and Mother, and basically you see a couple rib shots that we saw in The Dark Knight Rises, where remember Talia got a good little knife shiv in Batman's ribs. He gets a couple of shots in there just like that, and Orphan basically takes down Batman. So overall, it was good to kind of get some clarity on issue number 1. We all knew Batman wasn't going to kill anybody, but
sure.
The art was okay, story's okay. It's still going. It's in a good place, but now it makes me kind of wonder in the whole tie with Cassandra and Harper. So overall, not bad.
Sure.
Not the best issue of it, but still the series is going good, and we only got what 8 more issues left after this.
Since they were 3/4 of the way through now, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So
cool.
So, that's it. And Robin Eternal.
What else? What else do I talk about?
I know you get Black Canary. I know you did.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Yep.
No?
I haven't read my copy yet.
Oh, okay. Try not to spoil too much, other than, but this is we'll say the end of the first story arc.
Yeah. I mean, pretty much we kind of end the whole Ditto thing, right? With that character. I mean, not that it's necessarily gone or anything, but just that this build up of who's chasing, Ditto and the band down, and after the craziness from last issue with the whole kind of, showing up and there's the people you just talked to a couple hours ago that were young, now they're older. That whole thing kind of gets, squared, to some degree by the end of this. And then we kind of, the very end of the issue kind of leads into what the next story is going to be. Because I kind of wondered, okay, when we get to the end of this whole thing with, with the guitarist, up here and all of that, what's going to be next for this book? I mean, where does she go after that, kind of a thing? The contract's up, that whole, what's going to be next for her. And it kind of hints as to what possibly is going to be our next, story in some sense. So I'm curious about that. I'll keep with it because I'm curious about that now. I mean, I like this issue. There's a certain amount of unclear mumbo jumbo, and I mean, I know it's a comic book, and there's plenty of rubber science in comics. That's the beauty of comic books. You can just, in superhero comics especially, you can throw whatever kind of rubber science you want in there, and it all is fine. There were some weak spots in that, I guess, as far as that goes. But I mean, I still liked it. I mean, like I said, for me, it's largely the art and the style that the artists bring out, that Wu and Lethbridge bring out in the book. That's really the aspect of it I'm enjoying more so than, the deep story that Fletcher's writing, I guess. So.
I know. I love that one page. I mean, I don't know who would actually get. I mean, I'm assuming that's Fletcher who has the idea where she's fighting that creature, and basically the sheet music is.
Yeah. I mean, everybody's been talking about this. So fighting the big monster there, and of course, you got your sheet of music here, and Black Canary's jumping off there, and it's a big fight, and it's kind of hanging up in the. And I don't know. I would be curious. I mean, I'm assuming it's something along the lines of, hey, make some musical fight here. And I wouldn't bet that that's not Wu going, I want to do this. And them going, awesome, that looks cool, because it does. I mean, it's just because basically they're playing rock and roll and attacking this monster that's coming down, and it's sucking up sound and blasting sound back at them, and it's not really working. So she goes at it full combat, and I don't know. It's a cool page to have in there amongst the rest of the.
I only had maybe a couple gripes with this. I don't know. Maybe it's just because I may have just had to reread previous issues. The thing with Kurt, with him coming from the future, did you see that coming at all? Or did it just feel like it just landed there?
No, that's completely out of. That's completely out of left field. I don't know. I mean, other than to tell the story. I mean, I don't know. You know what I mean? It's all. That's the part I'm kind of like. Because it never felt like there was a real good reason to have Kurt there, other than Amanda supposedly wants the kid because he needed some sort of a chase, and I mean,
And the same thing with Bo Maeve. That just came out of nowhere. Like she's been in cahoots with Ditto this whole entire time. I was like, okay.
Well, yeah, kind of. I mean, it's basically he Ditto's manipulation and whatnot. I mean, she clearly was part of the band before that. And,
oh yeah.
You know, and so I don't mind that character and how she works in the story so much. But yeah, the whole Kirk thing is kind of strange. I mean, I don't know why we were pulling those strings. I don't know exactly what the writer was after there. If it was supposed to elicit something out of us, because it doesn't really for me. Other than it just seems kind of odd and random. And there's Millie Akers.
Hello.
Hey, Millie. Good to see you.
Sorry to be joining kind of late, but
nope, not a problem.
I'm glad I could get on.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, so I'm still enjoying Black Canary, but I mean, I'll be the first, like I said, to say it's less to do with Fletcher's writing for me and more to do with, the art. So.
Yeah, and to say this is, I mean, phenomenal writing, I'm not saying that at all. But right. If you compare this to like Batgirl, it's kind of like, why can't he do something like this in Batgirl? Where he seems, even I know he's in Gotham Academy too, but here it's just like, I don't know why he can't bridge the gap a little bit. Because this, I mean, it has its shortfalls, but it has a clear path for me to be, and it's actually not bad. It's great. I know I'm kind of with you too. I mean, the art kind of really sells it probably more than anything.
Well, but here's the thing though. I like Babs Tarr doing the art on Batgirl, but that story just does not ring right for me. Even throwing out the whole old Batgirl versus new Batgirl, that story doesn't land right for me. This one does. Or maybe I'm asking more of Batgirl than I am of Black Canary too. I don't know.
That cover is phenomenal too.
Oh yeah,
that's a great cover. Yeah. For sure. So, Millie, did you read Grayson?
I did. Yes.
we just got to talking about it. Anything you want to say about it?
Just that I really enjoyed it. I really liked it. I loved the action theme song sequence and I don't know if I can really add anything that you guys haven't already said. I just really enjoyed it. So.
Yeah, that's basically what he said. It was a really fun issue. It didn't maybe move the plot forward a whole lot, but it was a whole lot of fun.
Yeah.
For sure. Right on. Any other DC books we want to talk about?
Did anyone else get any more?
I didn't. I only got 3 this week.
Oh, okay. I'll go. I got 2 more. I'll be quick. We Are Robin was actually good. So, I think maybe a lot of people have the criticism on this one is just like there's really no character development in it. It just feels like just a big mush. In this one, we actually get the majority of the story is the story about this one kid who basically is becoming the Joker, or at least a knockoff of the Joker, which we get the concept is done before. I got it. The effects of the Joker on someone makes them mad. Got that. But this was actually really executed really well. I mean, really goes into why the kid who was in juvie, actually how he was mentally not right. Basically how he had a deformed face. Actually, parents try to get him surgery, gives him a permanent grin, and how he deals with the people in juvie hall and the tough time he had when he got brought back with his parents not really liking him now because obviously he's nothing but trouble, and the issues he has with his I think his sister, and how all the time he's been idolizing the Joker as stuff in his room, and all it really does do a really good job painting a picture of this young man becoming a cheap Joker knockoff. Which again, the concept not original, but just the way they executed was really really good. The only thing I really had to knock it, if anything, is that I'm making the assumption in here that Duke has found his parents in Arkham Asylum, and they're all still feeling the effects of the Joker toxins. So they don't even know who they are. Which goes back to us reading Batman 48, that one panel where you're led to believe Duke's parents are maybe dead. I don't know. Who knows? So I don't know. I don't know. Maybe a little bit too early to tell, but it was actually a good story, mainly because you really get mean, good development on this next villain they're getting ready to go up against, these gang of jokers. But it was actually pretty good. I was surprised. So We Are Robin, actually not bad. And then lastly, don't talk too much about it, Superman. We might be getting back to this Superman of old, getting his powers back. And the key to it is kryptonite. He's basically got to wipe away the DNA with the effects of the kryptonite, so basically he can re-heal and have all of his powers back. And, which, I'll be honest, this whole take on Superman, early on, okay, but I think it's been a little too long. I think we just need to get Superman back, but it looks like we're starting to head that way. And if I really had to really kind of knock Superman, if anything, you really almost have to read all the connecting titles. You got to read Action Comics, you got to read Batman, Superman, you got to read Superman, because a lot of stuff gets referenced in there. And luckily, I get 2 of the 3 books like that. So, but if there's only you're reading one of it, you can kind of get lost in the sauce a little bit. But it looks like we're slowly coming to the end of this.
And who's writing Superman right now?
This one is Yang.
Okay.
And the good thing about this issue is that we didn't have John Romita Jr. on it. We had Sayef, who actually does stuff on Batman and Superman, and Porter. So it wasn't bad. So I just like I said, I just want to get back to the old Superman, at some point, pretty soon.
Well, I hear pretty soon Tomasi's going to be writing all the Superman books,
all
right?
the Superman, yeah.
He's writing them all.
Yep.
So that's amazing to me. I mean, basically putting all your eggs in one basket, right? I mean, that's kind of...
Well, for the longest time, what's his name? Oh, God. What's his name? Jeez, Greg Pak. There he is. Yeah, he was doing pretty much... Yeah, he did Batman, Superman, and he's still doing action, so... The issue with that is, especially it happened with Pak, it's just the voice, I think, after a while, it's just like, okay.
Right.
Kind of burn out pretty quick
that's kind of what I was thinking. If they're all kind of I guess there's 2 ways. If you love the voice and you love the way it's being written, you've got at least 3 Superman books where it's all, you're basically it's telling different stories with the same guy in it.
Right.
Versus sometimes, when you read a book, you read books where one character's over a number of books. In years past, Batman, for instance, has had completely different tones depending on which of the books you're reading, kind of a thing. So I guess two sides of that. If it's great, that means you get 3 times as much great. If it's not your thing, then it's 3 times bad, right? You have no book, if you're a Superman fan, no book to escape to, because they're all drawn by David Finch and written by his wife, Roman. But that kind of thing. Yes.
Which is going to be interesting.
Doesn't that pretty much confirm that the Superman books are going to cross over?
Well, make it guarantees, doesn't it? Guarantee they're all going to cross over? Yeah. Sure.
I think we could look at this too. I think when I looked at the book, I think there is going to be a period of time for how long. I know Scott Snyder's futures and Detective is kind of up in the air right now. When's he going to go? But I literally think it's all Superman and Detective still Tomasi's doing, so he's going to be busy for a little bit.
Yeah.
Now, at least I was out to 52 that he's still on Detective.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, that's cool. I mean, I like Tomasi, so I don't have a problem. Yeah. I don't have a problem with that. And that may be the writer that's going to make me decide I need to take another shot at Superman. Superman's one of those characters. Every couple of years, I take a shot at trying to read some of them, and just can't really get into Superman. I mean,
I haven't read Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman, but I heard it's really good.
Yeah.
Or is it Wonder Woman, Superman? Either way.
It's Superman.
Yeah.
It's Superman first.
And I heard, heard nothing good things about it, so I'm sure he's got a good handle on him. So.
Yeah. So, cool. Any other DC books you want to talk? Anybody? Go once? Going twice? What do we got for news? Anything?
Hanna-Barbera and DC. So they're gonna start seeing Space Ghost, Scooby-Doo comics, Johnny Quest, Herculoids.
Herculoids.
They're all coming back. Yeah. Wacky Racers.
Flintstones comic.
Flintstones comic too, right? Yeah, because they're diving into a bunch of the Hanna-Barbera. I'm hoping that they oh man, I can't remember the title of the thing now. The Barbarian one. What the hell is it called? Oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm drawing a blank of that.
Yeah.
Now all I can think of is Conan, and that's not right. So, Ukul the Mock and Thundar, yes, Thundar the Barbarian. Would love to have a comic book of that. I read the daylights out of that. What they need to do is they need to get Cullen Bunn writing it, and Brian Hurt, the guy who's the artist for Six Gun. They need to get both of them on that book. I would read the daylights out of that. So.
Start tweeting it, make it happen.
Yeah, so that's gonna be fun. I mean, I don't know, I mean, I love those stuff as a kid, those cartoons and whatnot. Yeah. So that could be some fun. I'm curious to see what kind of a take they have on them. I hear like Howard Porter is doing the art on Scooby-Doo. So
have you seen the photos of it?
It's a new Scooby-Doo because I mean they're gonna keep the old Scooby-Doo comic. It's gonna keep going. And then there's this kind of new take. So do you think they're following, are all these books going to be like that? Are they following in the path of like the relaunch of Archie and making him a little bit fresher and a little bit?
The Scooby-Doo one, they showed it because Shaggy looks like a hipster. I mean, he's got kind of the stylish mustache. He's got tattoos on his arm. Yep, exactly. So copyright, Travis. Copyright the look.
Okay.
Scooby has like this scope thing, so he almost looks like I don't know. Yeah. It was a little futuristic looking. Right. Johnny Quest looked great that I saw, and Space Ghost looked pretty much like the old cartoon show. So
I don't know. To me, that just seems perfect because Alex Toth, old-time creator artist, did so much work for DC, wonderful work for DC, and he's the guy who did most of the work for the Johnny Quest stuff and the Thunder the Barbarian and a lot of that stuff. To me, I don't know, it just seems perfect that they keep that all in the fold and would be redoing that at some point. I'll be curious to see how it all works out. I mean, I don't know, I'm not 100% sure what I will dip into as far as comic books.
Yeah. Johnny Quest I'm looking forward to. I can't wait to see how that goes.
There's so much potential there, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a story that there's just so much potential for them to just go nuts with. I mean, that's what made for me anyway, that's what made the cartoon great is every episode could just be totally out there. I mean, one episode they're on the North Pole, dealing with the abominable snowman and all kinds of weird stuff, and then the next week they're deep in the jungles somewhere dealing with nasty scuba diver dudes and whatnot.
Yeah.
The Herculoids are just nuts too. I don't know. There's a lot of them going to be.
Yeah. Should we explain to some of the younger viewers maybe what Hanna-Barbera is? Or, I mean,
I'm pretty sure most people know.
All right, I just wanted to make sure. So.
If they don't know, their parents should be ashamed of themselves for failing to introduce them to these wonderful cartoons. And if they don't know what they are, they end up knowing what they are because there's so many other things out there that spoof on them.
Yes.
Like Ventura Brothers.
Oh, yes.
All that kind of stuff. You end up, if you're watching that stuff closely, you end up doing some Googling and you find out what these other shows are that they're playing around with and whatnot. So, I don't know. People in the comments seem pretty excited about it too. Most of the people are talking about the stuff and whatnot. So I don't know. It'll be. I'm excited for it. That was some cool news. So, anything else news-wise, DC? I can't think of anything.
Not really news, but I know this title that we never talk about. I've been getting back into the Flash TV show.
Uh-huh.
I've been picking up Flash and getting caught. The book's actually not bad. Fantastic art. If you ever get a chance to kind of maybe if you don't want to read it too much, just glance through the pages. Really good art.
Yeah.
Great plan. It's actually not that bad of a book.
That's really interesting. I mean, granted, I can't watch all the YouTube videos that are out there and whatnot, but I can't remember off the top of my head really anybody anymore reading The Flash. I mean, everybody talks about the show, but I don't know many people that are actually reading the book. I mean, it's like almost...
And to clarify, the main book, not the spin-off.
Right. But I mean, that's what I'm saying, is I don't really know of anybody anymore that's reading the book, so it's kind of interesting. I almost forget that it's even out there, kind of a thing. So, yeah, cool. Looking pretty decent, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay. I can't talk. Oh, I know something else that was up that I'm super excited about. I haven't watched this week's Legends of Tomorrow to really talk about that in any sense. But news of shows that are coming. I hear that they are in a future show that
Green Arrow.
Yes, that what's his face, the actor, but
yeah, Stephen Amell
is going to be in the show, and he is playing the old version of Green Arrow from the Dark Knight series.
Oh, really?
He will be missing his arm.
Nice.
He's got the goatee and whatnot going on. I'm so excited that he's going to show up missing that arm and stuff. I love that character.
So this going to be an episode or a whole new?
No, just an episode, yeah.
Oh, just an episode.
You know, because they're bouncing around through time, so I'm assuming they'll hit a future version of it.
Oh, okay, I see.
Of him, you know, missing the arm. I hope he's the kind of old balding, long-haired nut from that book. Because I'm a huge Green Arrow fan, and I remember back in '87 when that book came out and seeing Green Arrow show up, and there was this kind of a hippie old coot kind of a guy, and I absolutely loved it. So the idea of seeing Steven play that role will be hilarious, I think, too. It would just be all kinds of fun. So excited to hear that. I just keep hearing exciting things about that show. So you know they're going to have Hex in it at some point too. So should be fun. Should be fun. Okay, well let's go on to what? Well, we'll talk Marvel next.
Sure.
Let's talk Marvel books. What do we want to talk first, Marvel-wise?
Millie, I know you want to talk about it.
Yeah, Daredevil.
Talk about Daredevil.
Did you get your issue read, Brandon?
Yes, I did.
Awesome. So what do we think? I think we're potentially split here on the panel as to what we maybe like or don't like about the book. Because I mean, I've heard Millie and Brandon have maybe a different opinion about some of the stuff than I do. So.
It's also we always talk about it all the time too, so maybe we swayed each other. So I don't know.
What do you think?
I think this is my favorite issue of this new relaunch. I really enjoyed it actually. I thought the art was top notch in this issue.
Yes.
I really enjoyed it, and yeah, I don't know, I really liked it, and I liked that at the end there was like a reference to Kirsten McDuffie, because I was really worried that they were going to kind of forget about her or not mention her at all, so I was really glad at least to see a mention. I mean, we don't know exactly what happened that, you know, made him leave her and all of that behind and stuff, but...
Yeah, okay, so I'm glad you brought that up, because of course I didn't read the last run of the book, and I don't think that Luke or Mike, did you read the last run?
No.
So
is that the brunette that was in the prior?
Yes, she was assistant director's attorney.
Okay, thank you.
And then she kept trying to get Matt to like reveal that he was Daredevil, and he kept saying like, no, I'm not Daredevil, and she was like kind of playing like these games with him and stuff. And then when Foggy got cancer, she joined Nelson and Murdoch to kind of help out while he was in the hospital and going through treatment and stuff. And then when they moved to San Francisco, she actually became a law partner with Matt Murdock, and they started dating and that kind of thing. So
she's a significant person. So cool that they are dipping back into that for sure. They haven't completely left his past behind, which I think is probably a good thing. And I just wanted to make sure, because I kind of thought that was the case, but I didn't know for sure. So I was looking forward to getting one of you guys on that would know who or what that was. So yeah. I really like the issue. I hear there's some people complaining about the art. To me, that's crazy. This issue, I thought the art was awesome in it. There were lots of pages I flipped through going, I may have to do an internet search to see if I can find, some of this original art, because there's some pages in here that I would love to have. They're just gorgeous. So just great. I mean, even the 2-page giant spread. I mean, I don't know. Yeah. To me, that's just awesome. It's very visceral. I mean, I don't know. Art-wise, like I said, I really liked it. I like him dealing with the hand. They're a cool adversary. It never hurts my feelings to see them show up, up in the book. you know, so I like that too.
I'm going to say two things, and I think they're going to contradict each other in some way, but
Okay.
I think in this issue I like Ten Fingers the most because you don't really know how much he actually knows. Like, how much is actually his power, or it's just him just getting away with it, you know what I mean? You don't really know how much power he actually has, and I think that makes him kind of a compelling character.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like in this issue he's had more weight than other issues. But having said that, even though he creates more of a legitimate threat, this whole sidekick thing, it felt like Matt Murdock kind of did a 180. Because when he was fighting with the Hand, he's like, oh, I'm glad he's away and not in the moment, like in the fight, so I have to look after him. And then later on he goes, oh, you're graduated, you're going to be part of the fight now. And I'm like, not as much happened in this issue to make me feel like he should have made that leap with that character. Maybe it's just me, but the sidekick thing still doesn't resonate with me at all. Like, why the reason with him being there still isn't with me. I agree that the art's great, and I agree the story's good, but that sidekick thing is still not working for me.
Yeah, I mean, I'll agree with the fact that they aren't connecting. They're not connecting the sidekick to the situation enough. I mean, I'm assuming the sidekick is clearly involved in some sense with the Ten Fingers and the church and the illegals and all that aspect of it, and they're not giving us enough of that to fill that in. I think there's supposed to be a connection there. I don't know that I think you're right in the fact that it's not great enough. I think the whole I'm glad he's not fighting, now he's in the fight, well, now you graduated, I think comes from the fact is because he says in the book that once you engage the Hand, you are forever engaged with the Hand. You can't walk away. I mean, so now it doesn't matter whether he doesn't want this, he doesn't have enough training, he doesn't want him involved. There's no choice. He's involved. I mean, so now I think it's just kind of his cool way of saying, well, now we're fighting the fight, kind of a thing. It was the impression I got around that.
That's fair.
Maybe
I overlooked that because I thought it was like when I first read it, I was like, that seemed like a big lapse in judgment of Matt. If he was originally like, oh, I'm protecting you, you don't, and then okay, but yeah, I guess I might have overlooked that. You're right.
Luke, what'd you say?
I'm gonna say I respect the older readers who might not be fully embracing the tonal shift in the series. And I respect that. I didn't know this for me. This tone, it's just my cup of tea. I love it. It just got that real good tone to it. The character, I'm kind of with you guys. The sidekick, I'll be honest. I just kind of breeze right by it. But I kind of don't even really pay him any mind, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
But I love that whole dynamic for the. Like I said, I don't know too much about Daredevil or the Hand and what they do or the whatever, but the whole cultish kind of feel of it's kind of the control that Ten Finger guys has on people, and the threat now with them being identified as a real religion and the twist at the end. I thought that was pretty cool. It's a good. I think I enjoy it just for again the kind of tone and kind of themes I like. But again, I still kind of understand those who might not be kind of digging the whole soul way of things. So
again, with the Ten Fingers thing, right? Like the whole fight with the Hand and whatnot. Like, did he actually know he was going to win that battle, or was he just being cocky? At the end, is he addressing Matt as Daredevil, or is he addressing Matt as a lawyer? Like, you don't know how much he actually knows, and that's what makes him so compelling to me. I like that character now. When he originally came in, I was like, this is weird and kind of stupid. But now I kind of like that character more as this goes on. So he's hard.
It's hard not to laugh at him initially. He's a guy with literally 10 fingers on each hand. So I mean, when you first hear his name, you think, oh, that's just kind of cute because we all kind of are, there, and then he's got the extra fingers, and but yeah, I think he's an intriguing character.
And just to make sure, I'm new on the character, so it might be a dumb question. This whole sidekick, there's no reference to him before. Is this totally brand new?
Brand new.
Yeah,
brand new.
Mm-hmm.
Daredevil doesn't have sidekicks.
No.
Oh yeah, I mean, as far as the guy in the story, I mean, it's just like a brand new dude,
Yeah. Well, I think at some point that Charles Soule is wanting to write more story around the whole, the illegal aliens within the United States and deal with that stuff more. I think he personally, some of his law practicing has to do with representing people who are trying to stay in the country. I think he's wanting to address more of that. I think that's kind of where that character falls in at. Some of this other stuff falls in at. But that's because I know that about the writer, not because necessarily in the story it's telling us that. I mean, I that's a fair criticism to say that aspect of it is falling flat. Then there's the whole district attorney thing that I know everybody's not feeling or whatnot. I guess for me, I don't have a feeling one way or the other because we haven't gotten enough of that to really understand why he's made the choice that he has. And I mean, I guess that's a criticism to say we haven't gotten that yet, but we're 3 issues in, and I'm sure to some degree, 3 issues in, they want to give us the fight, keep the average superhero comic book reader excited by getting some big brawl going in here with ninjas. Mm-hmm. So then I'm hoping with what happens at the end of this one where he kind of gets demoted, that means we're going to see more of the lawyer end of it as far as that kind of goes, and give us a reason why he would fundamentally change his viewpoints, right? Because he's always been a defense lawyer. What makes him think this is going to better the world? Mm-hmm. And there's that, and the whole what happened, why is he, made people not remember or all that kind of stuff. I mean, that's a thing that's hanging out there. I guess I'm not too concerned about knowing about that right away. I mean, I'm assuming at some point we're going to get told that story.
Yeah, because you think at the end, your defense attorney or prosecutor, you're still going for justice as far as whose perspective, the people versus the individual. So. Right, but I think it's fair from a long-term reading Daredevil perspective to want to have a understanding of why he would fundamentally change. I mean, he has always been for the little guy and not the machine, and now he's part of the machine. At least that's how I see it, right?
Yeah, and I think the reason that he changed, for me at least, has to be something like pretty big, because I mean, to me, I feel like it goes against kind of the ideals and kind of what Daredevil has always stood for and that kind of thing. Like you said, standing for the little guy, and Daredevil as a character has always kind of been like a hypocrite, where he was going out and fighting the law in his own hand, but he was also trying to get it in the courtroom, and then he was going against it, like his faith and everything. And so it just seems kind of weird to me that there's this change. But yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of weird to me, but. Mm-hmm.
I guess for me, I'm okay with it. I hope the story evolves that we get some of that. They didn't just wake up one day after 8 months and went, I'm gonna stick it to people now. I mean, kind of a thing. So, yeah, cool. Anything else we want to say about Daredevil? Nope. Okay. What else? What other Marvel books we got?
This one that was absolutely amazing.
Yes. Yes.
Oh my God.
Everybody should be picking up Spider-Woman if you want a fun comic that, at least for me anyway, I laugh my ass off in it, but it's still so easy to take it serious somehow along that. I mean, it doesn't feel ridiculous. I mean, despite the fact that yes, she's a very, very pregnant woman. I mean, she's pretty much having contractions while she's doing the stuff she's doing. She's out in the middle of a black hole inside of a hospital, and the Skrulls are attacking. And
that's not ridiculous.
Right, and she's got a whole room full of pregnant women that she's trying to, pregnant aliens that she's trying to usher from one place to another to keep away from the Skrulls and get out of this place. But it all works. It works so well. It's just,
I know. It was so fun. I love the scenic route she takes.
Oh,
because you get like splash pages back to back to back.
Oh, yeah. Because she can't just, she's crawling through the space station. She can't just walk down the hall because, of course, that's full of all the Skrulls and all the locked doors. So she has to crawl through all these vents and whatnot. And the conversation that because she's up in space in a black hole, and she's on her cell phone, and she's talking to Carol Danvers, who is trying to figure out how to get to her, and she can't. So it's all this conversation about Carol apologizing over and over again because Carol's the one that convinced her to go to this hospital in the first place. And then trying to break the news to her, oh, by the way, you're the only one that can do this. You know, I hate to say it, but you're the one. You have to take the scenic route. The scenic route is this, you know, going through this aquarium. It's this wonderful, perfectly drawn, you know, follow it around through this aquarium of, like, I don't know, giant manatees and other, you know, sea monsters. And then through some venting systems, and this incredible crawling through this gears and other wonderful stuff. Past some giant, I don't know, Shuggoth kind of monster thing that she pops in here and then crawls out there, kind of a thing. I don't know. It was.
And then she gets there and it's like, okay, fix the portal. And he's like, oh, I can't. I have to be near a terminal.
Right.
Crap. So you go all the way back on the scenic route again.
Right. And the fact that the genius that she's getting to is basically a head in a jar. That, I mean, it's a dead mummified head in a jar, and it's got like it does emoticons on the glass face for facial expressions and whatnot. It's just ridiculous and funny, and there's a scroll prince in there that she's trying to save now.
That was my favorite part because I know people who have that sort of same personality.
Yeah.
Where he's like, she tells him something really, really crazy. He's just like, yeah, okay.
Right. She's like, oh, I would have thought you'd be freaking out. Oh, no. It's, you know, whatever. Can I get my granola bars before we go? Oh, okay. You know, I just loved it. It was like hilarious.
You overestimate the amount of energy I have or something. And then as soon as the scrolls break and he starts kicking and screaming.
Yeah.
It was just so funny.
Right, and towards the very end of it, her water breaks. So she's basically going into labor, and she's hiding behind a soda machine as the scrolls are pouring in on them. You know, I don't know. It's great. More people need to be reading it. I keep hearing that this is a low-selling book. It's the lowest selling of the Spider-Gwen, Silk, whatever. I don't know if that's because all the new kids only want to read the new heroes, and Silk and Spider-Gwen are newer characters. This is the original. She really is the best. Just saying. But it's lots of fun. I'm hoping. I mean, I'm not looking forward to what's coming because I know that whole Spider-Women thing is coming. It's a crossover between the three titles. I'm not getting those other titles. I think that's going to be. I don't know. I'm hoping it draws more people to the book because it's really smart. And I'm going to say it again. I'm going to keep saying it. If you read this book before it restarted the renumbering and you loved it then, you are screwing up not picking this book up now because it is the same. Actually, it's probably even better. It's the same amazing it was then, but tenfold.
Millie, did you find issue 1?
No. The shop I went to today didn't sell any new issues, so yeah.
Ooh.
So you're trying to pick them up?
Yeah, I'm trying to find them.
So now, is Jessica having a scroll baby? Is that what we're to understand then?
No. We don't have any idea who Dad is. We have zero idea. She's having to go to this. There's this, you know, I mean, Carol Danvers is like, you shouldn't just go to a normal hospital and have the baby. You should go to the best. So there's this hospital that, like, the Avengers use and other, you know, high-powered people throughout the universe use.
Yeah.
So she goes to it. She just walks through the front doors like it's a no big deal. She gets in this elevator, rides the elevator. What she doesn't realize is that elevator is actually it's basically teleporting her to this the physical hospital is hidden inside of a black hole because that makes it really hard to attack, right?
Yes. Yep.
Except the scrolls figure out a way in. So and they shut all the portals down. No one can get in or out, and so she's stuck in this hospital ward with a whole bunch of other pregnant women at various levels of pregnancy, and the hospital staff, and these scrolls, kind of a thing. So
I just wondered because I know her involvement is very deep with the scrolls from when she was abducted, impersonated, and then that Bendis run where she was hunting them down. I thought was awesome.
And that's kind of where she's at with this too. It's like, oh, you know, this would be. I'd be loving this. You know, she'd be loving this if she didn't have her kid with her, who she's always talking to. Mama's got to do this, and I know, you know, that Mama's heart rate isn't really racing. You got nothing to worry about. Kind of stuff is all this craziness is going on, going on around her and whatnot. It's been really, really fun, So, and I'm excited. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen when she has this baby and whatnot, because like I said, we have no idea who the father is. You know, zero. They have not played into that at all. So I'm looking forward, though, to when that happens, and I hope that it all goes well at the end. I'll be bummed if they suddenly turn this comic into a giant down her by having something traumatic happen or whatever. I mean, I hope the comic goes on and she's running around, with a baby, and she gets some sort of interesting babysitter, and as the kid grows up, I just think it's gonna be hilarious because her interaction. Hopeless does a great job, I think, of her personality, the way she talks to other people, the way she kind of thinks in her own head and stuff. To me, is just lots of fun.
Have Carol Danvers babysit his revenge.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Aunt Carol has to babysit. So.
And
I've
always.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, I always felt that Hopeless has really done very well. He creates very deep female characters.
Yeah.
So.
And the conversation and relationship between her and Carol in this is absolutely great. I just think it's funny because Carol's apologizing the entire time because Carol's just like it's all my fault kind of a thing. I don't know. It's just lots of fun. Lots of fun. I can gush on the comic for a long time. Clearly. Go buy it.
Well, it sounds like you should, if it's that low. So.
Yeah. Okay. What else?
Old Man Logan?
Sweet. Talk to me about Old Man Logan. Is the art just mind-blowingly amazing?
Tarantino and Malio, and Lemire. I'm sure Lemire probably says 4 words to him and then just lets him do it. That's I shouldn't say that. That's what I think most people probably do. Lemire has done a great story. There is Logan has been introduced as the old man from the series. So he has his entire past, so you don't have to read the old series, but I would recommend it. And he's dumped in New York, and I don't know how common naked men are in New York or how common Spider-Man is, but neither one, people just kind of ignore almost both, and then they get the police involved, and it's just, I was thinking, all right, so it's just going to be Wolverine figuring out life and all that. They go beyond that. It was so intelligent because they do a flashback to establish who he was, what his life was like. So you get that old story, and now we're catapulted all the way forward into the current timeline, and he is ready. He is going after the first bad guy he can think of, and he's writing them down on his arm, and then he's going to start crossing them out. And the first one he picks is just some D-list guy, but it's great. He takes care of him, and then you see at the end his arm with all the big name guys, because in his future, the villains have won. The only superhero that's really left alive is Logan, and it's that X-Men timeline thing. I'm going to change the past and create a better future. So I mean, he's got some big names on his arm. And it leads into the next one is actually the Hulk.
Really?
Yeah, he writes Banner's name down, which is interesting because I'm reading Totally Awesome Hulk, and it's Cho who is the Totally Awesome Hulk. So it'll be interesting to see, does he go for Cho in the comic book? It looks that way, or does he go after the scientist Bruce Banner and try and kill him? So looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm probably going to go to the store and pick that up. I didn't order it because the Lemire part of it makes me nervous. I haven't been too excited with Lemire's superhero work lately. Right. And I know I wasn't too worried about having to order it because I know the chain store will get lots of copies of that. So,
it is good. I mean, he gives a good character development by the past. He gives you the action by the future. So it's the divided storyline. I think that's the smart way of doing it.
Sure. I kind of like the idea of that. I mean, I know it's a well that's been gone to quite a bit with the X-Men. It's a well, when done well, I like the whole, let's go back and screw with the past to try and fix what's going to happen in the future. And it always seems like he's the one that's involved a lot with that kind of stuff. So, he's going to make a big mess of it at some point, right? So.
Yeah. Which will be interesting. Once you see the villains' names, it'll be interesting to see how well this works out. So,
how many of them does he really get to? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and there's only like 4 names, and the fact that he took care of, Dirtbag number 1 immediately.
Right. And is he killing them?
Yes, he kills the first one because they are the worst of the worst at the end. They are the villains that survive and rule and destroy the world.
So of course that'll come into conflict with a lot of the other heroes, right? Because with the exception of Punisher, they're not going to be too keen on him killing people.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Mike, do you think this is something that can be sustained for a while? Or do you think this is probably just like a short little?
Because of what I know from Lemire and Sorrentino, they did an amazing 3 or 4 trade run with Green Arrow. And I mean, I really could see that they really should have probably went one more trade with it. Because, I mean, it is tough. He's only got 4 names written on his arm. But what kind of conflict does that do? So long, and they were very good about making sure in DC they didn't tie it into any events or anything. I can't really see them being able to tie this into an event. So I'm really hoping it's event-free. It goes 3 trades. So I guess that's what I'm looking at.
Cool. What else? What else do we want to talk Marvel-wise? I got one more Marvel book. So I read Angela. Queen of Hell, number 4. You haven't gotten to yet, Brendan?
No. I haven't either.
I'm really enjoying it. It's more of the same. If you've been liking it, I can't see a reason why you wouldn't like this one. We get yet another step in her trials of trying to become the Queen of Hell. She gets a little deeper. There's kind of a story. One of the next trials she has to do is kind of, what would her life be like? What would she be like if her and Sierra had not crossed paths? What would they develop into? Kind of a thing. That's the kind of middle story that Stephanie Hands does the cover art. She does the interior art in that part of it, which of course is always brilliant. Whatever she's doing art wise and stuff. I'm still really enjoying this comic. There's some great parts in here where Odin's father shows up in it, and he is cussing and saying all this stuff, and they've redacted what he's saying. They blotted it out in black, and then they wrote over it in white. Misogynist, sexic thing, whatever. You can't, too vulgar for print, and then there's one place where he's yelling, and it's like slanderous things against Israeli involvement in Palestine. I mean, it's all this just random, over the top kind of stuff that's written. That's pretty funny the way they do that instead of actually writing out him in some tirade. They just kind of cutely put in there as a tirade. It all fits into the kind of, to me, for me the book is kind of witty. I mean, maybe Angela isn't witty, but the people around her are. Sierra is kind of a witty character or whatnot. So, so the kind of word plays in there. The writer, Bennett, she kind of, does a little bit of wordplay in it and does some puns and that sort of stuff. And it's just kind of fun watching those characters interact with each other and stuff. So I'm really enjoying it. I'm curious to see if she actually does manage to become Queen of Hell and what that's going to be like if she actually truly takes that role on. She fights Loki's dog in this issue. I didn't know Loki had a dog, so that was new to me. So I don't know. It's kind of a cool, fun comic. I just love the way it looks. I like Sierra and Angela's relationship. Makes it a really interesting comic. So, yeah. What else? We hardly read any Marvel at all, then. Holy cows!
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So, Marvel news.
Walmart is in discussion with Marvel and with an anime group about selling trades in their section, just like having a huge section of trades that they can, compete with comic book stores, I guess, or
bookstores and stuff, huh?
Yeah.
Well, clearly, I'm guessing they're seeing the attachment to the movies, right?
Yeah.
So that's just one more piece of kind of quasi-movie merchandise that they would do. Huh, interesting. So I wonder if it's with Walmart, does that mean that they're going to do some sort of exclusive, or are they printing their own versions?
They talked about going through Diamond, it looked like, in the article. But there was no discussion about DC, any independence, anything like that. It was just this manga series and Marvel. So.
Huh. Interesting. I guess that'll work for them until the DC movies start coming out, right? And then they'll have to probably expand or something. Interesting.
Well, and that's the thing too. I guess it's also, I know, about pricing and exclusive. You know, they want an exclusive price, exclusive books sometimes. So.
Okay. Cool. I don't know of any other news. Ryan C. is pointing out some other news that I don't know that I want to breach really much about one of the CEOs of Marvel in a roundabout way donating money to Trump for veterans or not veterans, depending on how he's actually going to spend said money and whatnot. And you know, some people boycotting Marvel because of it or not boycotting it, or what do you do and all that. If you want to read, of course, the first person that always comes to mind for me, and Ryan brings it up here, G. Willow Wilson, of course, who writes Ms. Marvel. She is a Muslim. You know, kind of what is her opinion? You know, clearly, if one of, I mean, it's not like it's her boss. I mean, this guy is like one of the top CEOs. I mean, he's like a million people removed from, you know, from Wilson. But anyway, go check out her Tumblr if you want to see her response as a Muslim to working for an employer that somebody up the chain is you know, spending, you know, putting money where clearly she probably doesn't like it with the whole Trump campaign and Trump's opinion on excluding Muslims from the country and whatnot. I don't particularly want to get into that giant can of worms because I don't even begin to know what to say about it. I have my own personal opinion, but that gets deep into politics and less about the world of comics, and so I really don't want to kind of venture. You know,
was it the Godfather? They said it's one thing we don't talk about at the dinner table was religion and politics or whatever. Was it?
Yeah, something like that. I mean, I don't totally subscribe to that, but at the same time, this isn't. I don't know. I mean, personally, I don't see how it's as simple. I mean, my 2 cents worth. I don't see how it's as simple as I'm just going to quit reading Marvel comics because that's going to show him. I don't see. I mean, unless literally everyone quit, and I don't even think they'd care then because it's, you know, I mean, there's just so much. He's so far removed. I don't see how you're going to affect it, but you know, whatever. At any rate, I would just go check out. I would go check out what G. Willow Wilson had to say and form your own opinion on it because that's beyond a can of worms to really deal with. So.
I also did see that with Venom, the Space Knight, they're going to do a little bit of work with Wounded Warriors because of Flash Thompson in the storyline is a soldier who has lost his legs and is mainly he does a lot of veteran work and all that. So they said they're looking to tie more into that. So I'm not reading that book, but I thought that was an interesting connection point.
Cool. Ryan C. also says it does sound to him like Wilson is out once the Miss Marvel, her arc on Miss Marvel is done. That better not happen. She better sign a contract to write that book for like the next 10 years. So, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. At any rate, off that subject because I don't want to talk about it. So, we want to move on to independent books?
Yep.
I think I had 20 independent books this week, so not that I have any intentions of talking about all of them, but I did read a lot.
Well, Image released their whole catalog this week.
It just seems like it. So what do we want to talk? We want to talk Black Magick first?
Yep.
Sure.
I'm assuming everybody kind of read that one, yeah?
Do
you feel excluded?
No, it's all good.
So what do we think? Issue 4.
The first couple pages, I was feeling like there's too much black and white, not enough color. But by the time I really got into the story at the end, I totally forgot that was my issue to begin with. So it's surprising how strong the story is that if I try and find something to pick at it, I enjoy myself. I engulf myself into it, and I forget by the end. It's a good book.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for me, the art is amazing. The level of detail and stuff, like this page with this giant panel up here on top. I don't know how well my camera picks that up. Like her dress, the flower print on her dress. I just can't imagine sitting there with a brush and some ink and doing that and making it work with the folds and stuff. I mean, you see so much now with, of course, computerized coloring. You know, they'll just take a pattern and slap it down on the clothing, and it doesn't bend with the textures, which drives me crazy personally.
Gotham Academy is the worst on that.
Yeah, but I mean, this has got all the shading, all the stuff in it and whatnot. That just absolutely boggles my mind as far as that goes. Writing wise, I love the conversation when she's at the kindergarten and they leave, you know, and just basically calling each other names and whatnot as they're going out the door. You know, just that kind of a friendship, you know. So bitches, yes. So I don't know. I just, you know, huge thing happens at the end of it. There's an oh shit moment at the very end that leaves you kind of hanging. It's like, oh crap, you know, what's coming next? I don't know.
This is like a good blend of police procedural and just some weird stuff.
Yeah.
Like Rucka this is a classic Rucka here.
Yeah. Right. He's not so far removed from kind of what seems to be his wheelhouse, the kind of the female detective kind of a thing, and that aspect of it's great. You know, you got this kind of procedural. I like the fact he uses police language in a lot of cases. A lot of when he's talking about the stuff, that makes it really cool too. And then you have the whole kind of the, you know, pagan and witchcraft is legit. It's not, you know, it's not, you know, hokey in any way in the book. And I think it's really exciting and really strong book. So.
And everybody got cover A. Nobody, because my shop tried to give me cover B. I went and exchanged it.
The cover B is the Ming Doyle cover, right? This time around.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does cover B have the same banner on it though?
I don't know.
Because that would bother me. I like to have all my books in unison with the same banner.
Right.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember because I did see somebody who had the cover B, but I can't remember if it had
something was different with it.
Yeah, it did because I remember looking at it. I had to look at it twice to figure out what it was because it didn't clearly have the logo on it.
Right. Yeah, I wouldn't pick it up because of that then. I need to have my banner if it's going to be unison.
Yeah.
I'm OCD like that.
So, like I said, I'm excited for the next issue. I can read it right now. You know, but I don't remember seeing in this one that there was going to be any big gap. I don't remember paying attention to that. A lot of these independent books, I always make it a point of reading the back to see if they're going to tell me they're gone for like 4 months or something horrible like that. But I don't remember seeing it yet for this one.
I haven't seen anything yet. No.
I follow the artist on Evil Facebook, and she actually has all the page art stacked up for the first arc, and it's huge. It is like a stack of paper. Like it's just massive because the board she's using. You know, to paint this stuff, because it's really kind of what she's doing. I mean, she's line drawing, and then when she goes back and inks all this stuff, I mean, she's using a brush so she can water the ink down to get that sepia tone kind of a look to it. Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
And I believe Brendan talked about it in his haul video that another great part about the book is there's extra material in the back that you can read to get more of a feel, but you don't need to keep reading the story. And I thought that was a great point that he made on that. That you know, it's just.
Me, but I'll take credit for it if you want.
No, I'm sure it was you in that.
No, I don't think it was me, to be honest.
All right, but I think that is what's great about it.
Yeah,
Brendan, I think I know your videos better than you do. So.
Maybe.
You do it, and you do it amazing. So.
Yeah, because I admit that lots of times I don't read that back matter right away. Depending on what kind of time I got, like this week, I didn't read the back matter for pretty much any of the books because I was just trying to get through as many of them as I could for this. I mean, I'll go back through and read that stuff later on. But yeah, it's got a whole page or more of kind of history prior hunters and witches and what was going on with them. Kind of it'll add into that. So, yeah, cool stuff. Cool stuff. What else? What else do I talk about?
Luke, are you caught up on Deadly Class?
Yes, sir, I am.
Okay.
Whoa, Deadly Class.
I was worried you weren't.
Oh yeah, I binge read. I'm on schedule.
What do you have the variant, Brandon?
Yeah, I had that cover in my box and I didn't really like it. So I got the other one instead. I don't know why.
Cool. I actually like the one you have better too, as far as how it plays into the story.
I think all the issues in this story arc is going to have like this sort of same color, just with a different person with the X on it, but I'm not sure.
Cool. Cool. So, what do we think of Deadly Class?
Oh, it was good. That was awesome. I like the tubby guy. I forget his name, but yeah.
Shabnam or.
Yeah.
He's evil as all get out, isn't he?
Yeah.
Got dirt on everybody, huh? So that's good. That's good. That's how he can actually. I think it kind of fits that. How he got so much power and influence because he's got dirt on everybody.
Right. Right. He's a different kind of assassin.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So
the beginning part where they explain this whole Polly character, it threw me off. The whole tone of the book to start out.
Oh yeah. What do they say? I'm Raymond, or what's his name?
Polly.
Polly, yeah. Polly, yeah, the guy in the red shirt. You know he's dead, don't you? He's got a red shirt, or is that just Star Trek?
Yeah.
Oh, there's just some awesome art in here too. It's like, I'm really curious to see if Soya and Willie end up back in the group with Marcus, and I don't know why I can never remember the goth girl's name.
Petra,
and what they'll all get kind of back together again ever, or if they ever arrange they're going to clearly kill each other. Because of course, I know by the end of this, pretty much, one group's pretty much been told that they're screwed and aren't going to graduate if they don't.
Well, that's the one thing I did say in my video, is that allegiances are not strong in this book.
Right.
They can break at any time, and you can see it with anybody. So, who knows?
Right. Right, except for Soya and Willie clearly are a item. I mean, there's some level of attachment there to each other. Unless Soya is really evil, I just can't see Willie letting him out. I love this page, by the way.
Yeah.
Her jumping down with a katana. I mean, she just looks badass there. And cutting the gun and the guy's the trigger finger off all together at the same time. It's just so awesome. Yeah, cool book. I think it's as great as ever. I mean, I don't know. Maybe there's not this I think the one shocking moment in this is we get another version of what happened with Willie.
Yeah.
And what made him famous, kind of a thing. We find out he finally comes completely clean on exactly, what he did there. But yeah, I mean, for me, it's one of those books. There's never a bad issue. I don't really think. I mean,
no, there's a shocking moment if you like dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, I even kind of like that, just because how cold it is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just like.
I was just being sarcastic.
Oh, yeah. There's the dog. Oh, it's cute. Blah, 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 blah. And the other guys are all like, dude, the dog wasn't doing anything. They're barking. It's like, wow. But yeah, I don't know. So to me, it's just a great comic. Love the art. Love the feel of it. The vibe. It is uniquely itself. I'm really curious though. After this arc is over with, where the hell does this book go?
Yeah.
But I'm assuming our main character survives it. Maybe not, I guess. But if he does, how does he stay at school? I mean, or is that part of the story over with? I mean,
is the headmaster? Does he have longevity after this? I don't know. You would think Marcus's next target, if he survives it, is the headmaster. Well, unless
I think the headmaster's worried Marcus is going to spill the beans that there's a school there.
Yeah. Right, because they're taking off. They're not going to stay. They're spilling onto the streets and are going to hide. In the wild, hopefully. So, I don't know. Excited to find out what. What else?
Talk about
Really? What did you read any independent books? You
yeah,
want to talk
I did. Do you guys want to talk Faith?
Sure.
Sure.
Yep.
Talk.
So, what did you guys think?
I enjoyed it. It was one of the last books that I read before coming on, so I think that it was really exposition heavy. I think more than what's necessary, in my opinion. But I like what they're doing with her. Like, she's obviously quite nerdy. I love how they explore that side of her in the comic. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I didn't love it, but hopefully I enjoy it more as the series goes on.
See, I thought it was exposition heavy a little bit too, but I also felt that the exposition, some of it was the best part of that book. So that's where you get a lot of the characterization of Faith, and I just love how she handles herself. And I think one of the big things Millie said in the last hangout yesterday, and I think Reader 1717 said in her video too, was that they don't make her the butt end of any jokes. I think that's a really, really good thing, because typically that's what they do.
Yeah.
I love how comfortable, like, in her own skin she is. Yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. There's one panel that kind of bugged me a little bit. And it's the panel where, so basically part of the book is she's going and she's stopping these puppy nappers or whatever. And she literally throws all 5 of them out the window. But I looked at the page, right? And I see, like, how high the buildings on the background are. And I'm like, I know I'm supposed to like this character, but did she just, like, murder 5 people?
For stealing puppies?
Like, I know I'm not supposed to think that way, and I'm sure she didn't. But I'm just looking, I'm like, how high was that fall? Really? But, yeah, I did enjoy that. I did enjoy it.
Who was the creative team on that?
Jody Hauser and Francis Portela.
Yeah.
And then Marguerite Sauvage also did some artwork in it, too. I know Marguerite Sauvage is the cover artist on Red Sonja. Outside of that, I have no idea who these 3 people are. I've never heard of them before.
Jody Hauser is doing Max Ride, the book that has the breaking arrow.
Weird misprint, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
They also do make references to Harbinger, and the only reason why I knew that is because I've heard Scott, Running with Comics, talk about Harbinger all the time in his videos. They mentioned one of the villains in here named Harada, and that's the only reason why I knew that, is because it's from Harbinger. But outside of that, you don't need to know anything about the universe right now. This is a completely jump-on friendly. You don't need the Harbinger stuff at all to get into this book.
So I binge read the 3 Harbinger trades. Did any of you guys read those before this, or?
I read the first couple issues when Valiant relaunched, and then I kind of just dropped the whole universe because of money. But yeah.
Okay, so one of the appeals to this book clearly is the fact is that, you know, however you want to describe her body type, whether that's plus size, normal size, you know, whatever that is. I mean, clearly that's part of the appeal of the book. I mean, I'm assuming that's part of the sale of the book is look, here's this person who's not a waif or is not a supermodel looking kind of a thing. She's not ripped. She looks like a normal person, and she's a superhero. But that's not the only draw to the book, right? I mean, the book has appeal beyond that, because that was my worry is that I mean, I think it's great. I mean, big clamoring for I don't know if I want to use the word body appropriate, but at least different varying body types, you know, for a long time, because it doesn't make sense that everybody looks the same. But I worried that it was going to be that was going to be the shtick, was going to be, you know, look, here she is, this, and then not really do anything with her. She doesn't have a value, you know, beyond that. So she doesn't fall into what you would consider the stereotypes. They don't land on a bunch of those or anything.
No, they don't even really mention like her weight or anything in the book, which I thought was really awesome. Because I mean, they could have made that like a focus point, you know, but they didn't at all. So, yeah, I really enjoyed that part of it. I love like the little references to the different comic books. Like there was like a Spider-Man reference and Wonder Woman reference and stuff. And then this one part where it's like the fantasy, I guess they're calling it the fantasy art or the fantasy story, where she's kind of like fantasizing about these things. And she saves a guy named Chris, and then like it goes back to her in real life, and she's like writing an article on 10 more actors named Chris who could play superheroes. I just thought that was really funny. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. I liked it. I'm excited to see where it goes. Ended on a bit of a cliffhanger, and I enjoy the character, so I'm looking forward to it.
There was other references to the Valiant universe. Like a lot of it, there was a discussion between her and Archer from Archer and Armstrong. Now I don't read that book either, but they seem to think that there's some sort of, I don't know if it's like a strong friendship or there's a budding relationship there. We don't really know. I don't really. There was a long kind of Skype session between the two, I guess. So I don't really know what the nature of that is, but Archer does show up in the book.
Oh, okay.
So.
And this is a 4-issue miniseries, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And I don't know what the print run of it was, but I understand is that they already had to do reprints of it.
Yeah, my store was telling me that he can't order anymore. They sold out completely, so.
So that's a good sign or a bad sign. I mean, there's something about not having enough books that's a bad thing, you know. But clearly the demand is there. They can put more books out, which will be cool. Mike is also saying she does reference her old team also. So clearly she was on a team at some point.
Yeah, Harbinger.
Okay. Oh, okay. So Harbinger's a team. I know so little about the Valiant universe as a whole. So. Oh, he's also saying that they released a second printing the day it came out. So they knew in advance that they had not made enough, and it did the second print. Is the second printing her sitting on the wire? Is that the second printing?
No, this is cover A of the first printing, as far as I'm aware.
I thought it was a variant cover. I don't know if it's a second print or not. I have no idea.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I think the variant cover was I think Marguerite Sauvage did a variant cover, which is cover B.
Okay.
And then her like on the power line was cover A.
Oh, cool.
There's a rule of thumb if you're looking for second prints, like the last digit on the barcode, if it's a 2, like it's right here. No, oh, you can't see it. But you got like 00111. If the last one's a 2, it's a second print. That's a good way to tell. If it's a 3, it's a third print. So it's a 1, so I'm assuming it's a first print, but I don't know.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, no, that's I remember people talking about that. That's the way the quick way to figure it out. So, cool.
As far as I know, anyway.
So, so the second printing, Mike is saying that it's has a white lettering and an orange number. I guess is one of the ways to tell the difference here too. And I also want to bring up that Mike, and I don't want to murder your last name, Mike, S-E-I-F. He keeps saying Hench Girl. That Hench Girl is better than Faith, is greater than Faith. Clearly, he's read both of them. Anybody read Hench Girl? I'm not even sure what that is.
Who puts out? I've seen it, but I don't know who puts it out.
Yeah, I'm not aware of the book, to be quite honest. So I would love to talk about it if it's better than Faith, because people keep talking great stuff about Faith. So, but that said. So I may have to look around for that, or I'm gonna wait for it to come out in a trade. I'm assuming Valiant puts their stuff out in trade reasonably quickly, also, and pick it up that way.
Yeah, they're cheap.
Yeah, since it sounds like it's gonna be next to impossible to find. I don't know though. Every time somebody says something's next to impossible, I can go to my chain store because I live out in the middle of nowhere, and books that no one can find, I can walk and pick up off the shelves. So when I go get that Old Man Logan book, maybe I'll see if they've got a copy of that too. So.
Hench Girl is by Scout Comics. I've never heard of that publisher, but
neither have I, so that's probably why I know nothing about it.
Yeah. Me neither.
And it's all written by one person, Kristen Gudsnuck, writer, art, and cover art. So.
Oh, okay. May have to look into that. Cool. Something new. Okay. What else? What else we got? We want to talk about?
Tell you what, talk about a title I'm not caught up on. I got all issues but number 8 to read. Southern Bastards.
Oh yeah, Southern Bastards.
Yeah, I remember you saying this might be something I like. Yeah, this was another great tone of story. This right down my alley. football, little town type of thing, you know. Keep in mind, I don't know anything else happened before.
In Craw County.
Yeah.
So, of course, like Brandon says, the first thing that seems really odd about the book is the fact that it's blue.
Yeah, blue color.
Of course, we know why it's blue, because, of course, it's got the other team. It's got the Warriors on the cover, and they're white and blue as opposed to the red and blue that the Running Rebels are.
Originally thought it might signify year 2 of the book, and they were going to continue with that color. But now I'm thinking, no, maybe next issue will be red again. I don't know.
Yeah, well, and you got the Homecoming; it's still red. You know, them right there. But who knows as far as that goes. So what do we think? What do we think of this issue of Southern Bastards? Issue number 13, where the story's at now that Biggs, right? It's Biggs.
Coach Big.
Coach Big is gone, and we get to see a little more of the town and the who's really in charge or who's not in charge, kind of a thing. Clearly the mayor isn't in charge. The mayor's wife is in charge.
Yeah, was anyone able to read the little fine print and what he was saying?
I think he was saying like "kill me, please" or something.
I couldn't read. I was sitting like,
yeah, my old man eyes couldn't quite see that tight, and I haven't bothered to bring out the magnifying glass yet to truly check it out.
I was about to go look for a magnifying glass, but
to see what it said. But I love that though. It's super small print. The mayor is behind a oxygen mask. And he whispers, clearly he's got some, medical issues and whatnot. And it's written super, I mean, just absolutely tiny. But it looks like it's actually written and says something. I have no idea. But and the wife translates for him. And clearly there's a power struggle potentially going on there, kind of a thing. But it's also, I think, it's interesting because I feels like we're seeing a chink in Ulysses' armor. Like, he's not. I mean, up until this point, it's kind of been, clearly he's had a crazy life as a kid, but he has seemed very larger than life and in control of everything. And this whole him having to show up and talk to the mayor, and him losing this game, it kind of, he may be the big badass that sells drugs and all that other kind of stuff and whatnot, but clearly football is more important than all of that, right? And if he can't win, against the rivals, his time may be limited, regardless of all the other stuff he has going on.
I also really love the color because they chose to do the football game in a storm, and they used the blues in there too. I love the title sequence of the lightning bolt going by the scoreboard. I love that panel. I thought that was fitting. I also love this double-page spread with all the different people that we've seen in the last couple.
Yeah, the bow hunter.
Yeah, the bow hunter and
there's
the
nobody's sitting around him. Everybody's completely backed away from him because he's such a badass. I just oh god.
And the sheriff was just loving them getting spanked. He's like, man, this is the best football game I've seen in a long time.
Yeah. Well, and there's the one lady, right? There's the one lady goes, oh, it's not whether you win or lose. It's just you play the game well and whatnot. And everybody's turning to her and going, basically, shut up, bitch. This is, are you crazy? Because this is their life, especially against this team. Yeah. There's a lot of cool stuff going on in this. A lot of subtle stuff amongst that football game and whatnot.
And the ending with what he does to the star running back. I was like, is that sort of a sign that the coach is maybe losing control and he's kind of
Yeah. Orion C is saying that he put the thing under a 10-power magnification jeweler's scope, and he's not saying anything.
Oh, okay.
The mayor isn't, so great. Wreck the fun in that.
Man, I love how the story. You get some football realism into it, though. Yeah. So, so if you're you like football is your thing, this is. Yeah.
Well, and the other side to that is if you don't care about football at all, it is still just a powerful story. So you haven't read the stuff before this, huh, Luke?
No, I have them all in singles, waiting.
Oh man,
I think
you'll love it.
Without reading that, you lose some of the weight of this story.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be you'll love it. It'll be awesome, and I'm super stoked for the next issue because the next issue it implies that Tubbs' daughter, we're finally going to get to see her show up.
Yeah,
and like since like issue 5 or 6, we saw her, and we're kind of, ooh, maybe she's coming. So I'm super stoked for that too. I'm looking forward to seeing that happen. So yeah, right on. What else?
Hellboy?
Twilight Children?
Oh, yeah, let's do Twilight Children.
Okay.
Oh, God, do we have to?
So what did you think about it, Brendan?
I don't know. I don't know. That's the thing. Like, it didn't end like where it's like what happened. Like it sort of had an ending, but it's still sort of like I don't know if the story was well constructed. I'm trying to reflect on the whole thing, and I'm just like I don't know. Like I don't have any other answer than that. I don't know. You have any clearer thoughts on that?
I agree with you. I think all he did in this issue was tie up loose ends, give some explanations to something that happened in previous issues. I don't really think it had much of a definite ending. I don't mind that the aliens weren't explained, but there wasn't much there wasn't much there. We just saw some character interactions that didn't make much sense.
No.
And I get where he's coming from. I get what he was trying to do with the comic, but it just wasn't executed, and that's kind of been his main issue with some of his. He likes creating these worlds or these cities filled with so many characters, and it makes them all connect in different ways, and then he just leaves things dangling and ties some other things, and there really isn't any definite ending. And that was the issue I had with this. You know, the ending wasn't bad, but there really wasn't much there.
No. I kind of wish because I think we talked about this off live, where it's like you're telling me Gilbert Hernandez is kind of known for this, and I'm like, man, I really wish you just told me that before I started picking up the book. I wouldn't have, because I would have passed on it if I knew that. But the first issue built intrigue with me, and then it just sort of lost me 2 and 3, and now it's just like, well, it ended. I don't know.
Yeah, Christina's right. The perfect example of the fact is you got these somewhat interesting characters interacting with each other, and that's what it's all about, with no real thought to let's actually tell a story or a plot beyond just these people are bumping into each other and how does that work. And in this case, let's throw in this odd thing and the fact that there's this aliens or spirits or whatever it is that shows up, and this woman is dropped down briefly, and it ends, but it's not. There's no ending. It's kind of how it is. I guess we can enjoy the parts of it that I think were good. I mean, because I think some of those interactions with some of those characters are interesting and good. I mean, the woman who seems to be having a relationship with everybody but her husband, for instance, I mean, it seems like she's kind of turned a leaf at the end of it, so it feels like there's some development with her, for instance. I don't know.
To be honest.
What's that?
I didn't really believe and buy that, though. Considering what we've got from her from up to that point, I didn't really buy it.
Right. And you get some sort of an ending with the old guy that kind of lived down on the beach that had lost his family to a fire.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he just wandered off into the ocean dead or exactly what, but you kind of get this kind of happy ending for him. And otherwise, the rest of it's just kind of left blowing in the wind kind of a deal. Which is my criticism with Gilbert Hernandez, is that it makes me really gun-shy to pick up anything else by him. I mean, I know, Christine, you're reading some other stuff by him. And I get that there's that it's fun to read his stuff, because you get this sometimes, especially here, he's pretty calm. This is pretty tame, Gilbert Hernandez. He writes some other stuff where he just kind of goes way off the social deep end, kind of thing. And that's fun to read. That's fun to read for the absolute, crazy assness that it is, and just the weird stuff that the people he writes about get themselves into. But I mean, I like character over plot, but it still has to go from somewhere, point A to some other point, and I don't know that it does.
I've enjoyed Twilight Children more than some of his previous work, where he's done the same thing. I think it's not as bad as, I think, Citizen Rex, which was his other sci-fi book he did, which it was a hot mess. But, and I appreciated, I think, Twilight Children for its magical realism, because to me it really had a magical realism vibe, and I don't really see that much in comics. There's no they're just orbs, and I think they're described more as magical things than they are as aliens, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So,
how much of
but
that
I enjoy
magical world can you put credit on Cook, or how much can you put on Hernandez? Like, I don't know what one you...
I think I'd say Hernandez, because he's written something like this before, Lover Boys, where you have this weird thing in the middle of a small town, and it's somehow you see how it's affecting them. And it's kind of like this mythical creature or some spirit. He's done this before. So I would say it's more Hernandez than Cook. But I think the art, I really think, captures more of the magical realism that Hernandez is trying to put into his work than his artwork does. So I appreciate it for that, because there really isn't any magical realism in comics. It isn't his work, but it's not a starting point for his work at all.
Yeah, for sure. In the comments, like Ryan C is comparing it to Lynch films, like Mulholland Drive and Lost Highway and stuff like that. And I would not compare those two. I get the comparison, but for me, there's a completely different level of where those two things are at for me. So, yeah, I don't know. Go ahead, Mike. What were we going to talk about?
The Hellboy Winter Special.
Hellboy Winter Special. I did get that too.
As somebody who's just entering into a lot of Hellboy stuff, it was nice because it gives you a sense of feel for a lot of the universe, and it gives you just a lot of these little stories so that you don't have to be overly invested. You get a little bit of knowledge on each one. So I guess that's why I like it when they do these little special books. I'm looking forward more to like a 1943 or whatever
53.
The next series. 53, yeah, the next series should be. But I still enjoy nabbing these kind of things because, like, I don't know about Lobster Johnson. It was fun just to see that little blurb in there. I know that you've talked about him several times, and but I mean, it's just the other depictions of Hellboy in here with the different stories I thought were good. Each one was just fun, so.
Anything you want to add, Brandon?
The third story for me was by far the one that cracked me up the most.
Is that the one with
Starts out with a snowman, and it's like,
yes,
oh, it's snowy.
Yes, Liz Sherman is a teenager.
Right, Liz Sherman gets like a puberty book. That made me crack up so.
Oh yeah, the Hellboy and the Professor give her a book on young ladies' puberty for Christmas. Yes, it's a young lady's guide to mood swings, pimples, and popularity. And of course, she grimaces and like, you think I'm moody? And she just goes completely off the handle, kind of a thing. And then gets pissed because they get attacked by a whole bunch of snowmen, and the snowmen wreck her book, and she's like, because then she's mad because they're wrecking her book, kind of a thing.
Yeah, those were interesting little demons or whatnot to inhabit the snowman.
Right. If you make a snowman and you leave it unattended out in the middle of nowhere, it gets a little like basically a gremlin takes over inside of it, and it becomes a sinister snowman, kind of a thing.
Yeah, sort of like a hermit crab or something. It's like it would be
right.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Right, and she basically, there's a whole bunch of them because Hellboy had made them as a Christmas present to her.
Oh yeah.
She basically goes nuts and blows them all up because, of course, she's a big giant pyromancer. She can just basically create fire from nothing and just nuke everything. And she does. She completely annihilates them. And as they're heading back to the house, she talks about how it's the best Christmas ever. You know, she got this, you know, crazy puberty book and all this different stuff and whatnot. So it's very funny. It was very cute, very funny kind of a thing. Yeah. You know, the story before that has more of the kind of the, you know, typical sinister, you know, ghosts that take over something kind of a story. Gives you a little more information on some of the other characters. I even really kind of like the Broken Vessel one, which has to do with Howard back when he's in prehistoric times, you know, coming across a guy who's wrapped in chains and skulls. And
see, I didn't even know who that was.
Sure. Yeah. The only way you would know who it was is by that sword, and the only way you're going to know that is if you're reading the BPRD title, because there's a character who, Howard, he's basically the equivalent of Conan the Barbarian. He touches that sword, and when he touches it, he actually drops into a coma. His spirit goes back in time, and he's this warrior chief kind of a thing, and he has this sword. He ends up waking up out of that, and now he's a completely different person. He's kind of this warrior dude now in modern times. I mean, he literally will go charging into stuff. People will be shooting machine guns at him, and he can bounce the bullets off of his sword and just go nuts and stuff. But yeah, it's something you wouldn't know without having read some of the other stuff. I mean, I like these things too. There's nothing really serious meat and potatoes in this, but just it continues to whet your taste as far as what the Mignola universe is like, what Hellboy and the universe is like and whatnot. So. And no one story goes on long enough for you to go, okay, I'm tired of this.
Right, yeah.
Any others?
Going back to Hernandez.
Okay.
Blubber.
I don't know. I don't know if you can show anything on this.
I'm not showing anything.
I
can't show anything.
Yeah.
This is probably one of the weirdest comic I've ever read. It's a collection of short stories. It's take weird men doing weird things with weird Dr. Seuss characters. That's all the stories are, and that's putting it lightly, very, very lightly.
So I'm not reading that if it's going to corrupt my Dr. Seuss characters for me.
Yeah, you probably shouldn't.
Okay.
The first issue was a lot tamer than this, and I enjoyed it for what it is, but it was very weird, and I don't think anything can be as weird as this issue. So if you want a very, very kind of lewd humor from Gilbert Hernandez, I think this might be the book for you. It's from like seriously from the back of the first cover all the way to the very end. It's just I don't know. I enjoyed it.
That panel you posted on Twitter, I was at work and I was looking at my phone. I'm like, what am I looking at? And then you're like, don't ask. I'm like, okay.
Well, it's not just the picture; it's the conversation that goes along with it. So it's like, woo! I'll probably have to go hunt that down, to be honest. So.
The first issue came out like 6 months ago,
right?
And I thought it was gonna be like a one and done thing because they were just short stories, but apparently he's releasing them every once in a while, so it's not something I would read in trade. I think it would be just way too much, but I enjoyed reading a single issue every now and then. But yeah, it's insane.
Yeah, Terrence Comic Crack is wanting to know if Blubber is a Fantagraphics release. Is that who does it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Fantagraphics.
Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's probably right up Terrence's alley as far as.
I think he would enjoy it a lot.
Yeah. Right on. Right on. Let's see. Let's talk Revival.
Yeah, okay. Revival it is.
This is such a great issue. Oh. This is one of those kind of issues that I did think is so extremely well written in how you see stuff going on in bits and pieces of the comic, and they connect to each other. What other stuff going on in between? Like you get a scene, and then with a character in it, and then we move on to other people, and then we come back to that character, and something else is going on, and all those different pieces tie in together. Even the cover brilliantly ties into what's going on the inside of it. This story, the Lester part of the story, is just I just loved it on so many levels.
It's kind of it's kind of coincidence this came out the same week Faith did with Body Image.
Right. Because whereas on the cover he's dancing with basically a skeleton, somebody who's bones, the woman he's dancing with inside of it, is a plus-size woman, and the secretary, he's gone on dates with her before. He asks her out to dinner to dance. They have a great time. Clearly, they're on the dance floor, just absolutely, whooping it up and having the great time. They go back to his place, and what people need to know if you're not reading the book is he's a fitness guru. He's in his 70s. He's like the Jack Palance or whatever the guy's name is. I mean, he's basically this, do lots of setups, lots of push-ups, and all that stuff. You're going to be, skinny, healthy, and wise kind of a deal. They go back to his place. It starts to get romantic, and they're getting romantic on his gym equipment, basically. She's like, "Oh, I want to do it here where you work all your magic," and he's like, "Well, I can work magic on you. I can fix you," and it completely crushes her. I mean, it's like, well, I don't know if it crushes her. It's like. But
she's
clearly,
like, I thought you loved me. I didn't think you saw me as a project or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That I was somebody you could fix. I mean, she's like, for me, life is too short. I'm not going to worry about a few imperfections and trying to make something perfect. I want to live my life, because the reason she feels that way, of course, she's living in this encampment where they're all closed in. There's the revival people. There's some stuff going on with the detectives that she works with that's got her all stressed out too. And she's like, I'm not having this. And she basically schools him. She basically goes, she basically, she basically says, I saw a sweet, clever man who I thought loved life as much as I did. Now maybe the real important question is, Lester, Magick, is, when you look at life, what do you see? And then we get this great, because we start out with the scene with him, as I spoil this whole part of the story. The first scene we see of him, he's running through the Wisconsin forest. There's the beautiful, whatever, I can't remember what kind of flowers those are. The birds are in the nest chirping. Mama's got a nice worm here to feed to and whatnot. We get this whole go on the date thing, and basically she scolds him for being a creep. And then the next scene after he says, what do you see in life? He goes out running again. So he's running. He looks kind of startled. The flowers are all dead. The baby birds are lying dead out of the out of the nest. Mom has got broken worms on the ground trying to feed the dead bird, and he's looking up at his hands, and all he can see is skeleton now too, and it matches up to this cover so well. In amongst the rest of the story, it worked so well. To tell, there's this greater story going on about the revival, about these people coming back to life, about them being quarantined, about the military, starting to do some questionable things and stuff. There's people being murdered. People are on the lam. There's all this other crazy stuff going on, and amongst all that story that's still in here, we get this own kind of a story in and of itself. I mean, this is a kind of a character story dropped in amongst this other greater, bigger picture that is Revival, which is a great story. The whole thing I think is really intriguing and really interesting, and I just think it's cool when the writer drops in this kind of a little piece of magic in amongst it.
And this issue, I don't think would have worked if this book didn't have that longevity behind it. And I think that's so. If you were one who was like, oh, I'm tired of books ending so quickly, this kind of book is in your favor, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I want to talk about that bar scene.
Okay.
That was the most fulfilling scene when I read that. I was fist pumping. So basically, one of the main characters in this book are two sisters, Dana and Em. Em is a reviver, and Dana is a cop. And Dana breaks out Em, and they're kind of on the run. They're fugitives right now. So it's on the news at this bar, and one of them is like this, and basically they're saying, oh, we're putting a warrant out for Officer Cypress's arrest, and everyone knows she's a cop. So there's 3 men are in the bar, and one of them's, I guess, like, I don't know, a trucker or something. And he's like, well, that's what happens when you put a woman in charge. They can't make the hard decisions. And the other 2 men just look at him and basically like, my mother raised my brothers and me alone and made some of the hardest decisions a person should ever have to make. And I love the panel right after because there's silence.
Yeah. Well, it's like this. Yeah. I mean, to start out with, he makes the complaint. What he says is he goes, when you put one of them in charge, that's what happens when you put one of them in charge. Well, who he's talking about is this African-American general, right? And when he makes that statement, the next panel, he's sitting next to these 2 guys, and of course, here's an African-American guy, and he's going, excuse me? And so then, of course, he has to backpedal and, oh, no, I meant women, right? And then that's when the guy gives the line about my mom raised me and made some of the hardest choices ever kind of thing. And then, that next panel is hilarious, as they're kind of looking sideways. They're basically looking at him like he's a dick, and he's like, ooh, crap, Yeah. That's like a typical day at work for me, so, ugh.
Oh, no.
And they basically tell him that, he continues to try and make excuses, and the conversation ends with them basically telling him to shut the fuck up. So.
Yep.
But there's some other crazy stuff goes on in this too. I mean, despite the stuff we talk about, I mean, we get the introduction. A while ago, I was tweeting about a cover for, I think it's number 37 or 39. It's this. Well, let's uncover the covers of Revival. It's got an old Japanese tapestry. It's got all the stuff that makes it look like an old Japanese tapestry. And instead of having a samurai on it, it's got a Amish woman holding a katana. Well, we get her introduced to her in this issue, and that's going to be crazy pants too.
It was just, the dialogue was perfect and it was paced perfectly. That's what I think made that book just stand out.
Yeah. Pretty much, Revival is another one of those great, long, very serialized. It is very much very serialized kind of a book, but I just think it's great. It has all kinds of payoffs in it, all the time. It's 36 or 3 years in. I think we've got another year.
Yep.
Of it, and it's going to be done 47 or something like that, right?
48. I think it's 48, but I'm not sure.
Crazy. I look forward to seeing how it ends, what they do with it and whatnot. But it's been brilliant. Tim Seeley, he does lots of other work in the DC universe right now, and Mike Norton. So
I don't know of ever reading a bad issue of that series.
Yeah, no. No. I mean, some of them are more shocking than others, but the ones that aren't shocking are just laying the groundwork, so of course you can get totally floored when something else happens later on. Yeah, for sure. What else do we want to talk?
I think Millie wants to talk about Saga.
Okay.
Saga.
We want someone else to talk about than just, yeah.
Issue 33.
I liked it. It felt kind of like going back through some of the stuff that we've seen in previous issues. It's just kind of like trip down memory lane, it felt like. I kind of enjoyed that part of it. With these 2 reporters kind of going through and trying to find Marco and Alana and Hazel and all them, so I enjoyed it. It was a little bit more slow than some of the other issues, I think. It was kind of just laying this next kind of story that'll be coming out, I guess, and reintroducing a character and everything, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of hit on it, the fact that these 2 reporters, we haven't seen them for quite some time, because, of course, last time we saw them, they were basically told if they kept investigating this thing, there was going to be some wicked curse put on them, and they were going to, their genitals were going to blow up or something horrible like that, typical Saga fashion. But here we basically, this is a way, I think, for the writers to kind of give everybody a recap. Okay, this is what's happened so far. Not all of it's accurate because, of course, they're kind of trying to put the pieces together and whatnot. But I thought it was a smart way, instead of having a Marvel page at the beginning that explains it all to you. But this is kind of a smart way for them to kind of, for us as the readers, to kind of refresh our memory. Maybe not 100%, like I said, 100% accurate, but gives us some kind of idea of what's going on in it. And I love the reintroduction of the character at the end of this, and I love the fact that he is, like, way overweight. I mean, he's clearly somebody that's been out of action for a while and whatnot. I saw that part was funny.
And, like,
The fact that what's that?
Like almost schizophrenic. He's talking to himself.
Well, right. Well, I'm assuming he's still chatting to the same people he was chatting with when he was crazy before, right?
Yeah.
Would be my guess. So I'm excited for that because I love that character. So I'm excited to see how that character works back into the fold of stuff and whatnot. So for me, there's never a bad issue of Saga. This issue may be slower than some of the others, but I think it's like a lot of these things. They're smart. They're building groundwork. For whatever the next big swell of something, is going to be. And it's still $2.99.
Mm-hmm.
Just putting it out there. 33 issues in, it's still $2.99, and unless you hate good comics, it's probably still one of the best comics on the shelf. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know what to say about it that doesn't spoil something horribly bad. So. And I continue to be shocked that there are people out there that have not read Saga. Now, if you've read it and you don't like it, cool. I get that because it's not for everybody. There are things about it that turn people, some people off. They have a habit of every issue. There's some page in there that's supposed to shock us in some way. And I guess depending on how narrow your view is of the world depends on how much some of that stuff shocks you. I mean, granted, back in like one of those early issues when we had the 60-foot, male genitals that are all warped out of shape, that's shocking regardless of who you are, I think. But like I think some of the stuff in this issue that was supposed to be potentially shocking, I don't know, like I said, depending on how limited your view of the world is, depends on whether or not it's shocking.
Yeah, it felt tame by comparison to other issues.
Well, right, but I mean, a lot of that stuff is. I mean, the issue where we see the where Hazel runs into the shower and there's the I would assume trans person in the shower. That wasn't shocking to me, but I know lots of other people talked about it like it was like, oh, this scandalous thing. This is the new thing they're throwing in there so they can have a scandalous scene. Whatever. I guess, like I said, depending on what it is. So I get the people who've read it and don't like it because those kinds of things are whatever. But like I said, with as much as everybody talks about it, I'm always surprised when I hear other people who read lots of comics have not at least tried it. Shocking to me. It's just shocking. I watched the show on Comic Book Fanatics yesterday. I was shocked to hear Funkmaster Celia hasn't read it. Just, I don't know, shocking. Anyway, what else do I talk about? I still got lots of books to talk about.
I got 2 more to talk about.
Okay. Mike, you got any others?
I was just going to bring up Outcast. This is issue 15. My comic book store was even mentioning, they're like, well, we'll get 14 on back order and all that. And I'm like, did I even pick up 14? So now Outcast is just this really long, drawn-out story. It wasn't going where I originally thought it would. It's been all right, but I don't look forward to it. I don't remember what happened. I don't look forward to the next one. I'm thinking about dropping it, but I think it's very good in trade. Yeah. When it's all compacted, it's a very nice story, and, that's just where I'm at with it. I'm fighting myself on what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Actually,
I read it.
You already dropped it. I guess I was wrong.
Yeah.
I read it in trade, and I don't think I could read it in singles because it's a very slow read, and not much happens throughout the issue. So I'm definitely glad that I'm reading that in trade.
Yeah.
So to backpedal just a little bit on Saga, Comic Crack is saying about the shocking things in Saga, but are some of those reactions because they are shocking, or is it trying to see, or is it because it seems a little old and sort of lazy to just throw stuff in to try and be shocking? And he's not saying that he knows one way or the other. He's just playing devil's advocate. I don't feel like, I feel like to some degree they're putting the stuff in there to push the envelope, but I don't think it's a gimmick. It's like, oh, this is our shtick. We got to have something in here that's gonna make people talk. I mean, I'm sure it is in some sense, but it's more of some of that stuff. This is just life. I mean, because like the trans person, for instance, that's just life. The person sitting on the toilet reading a book, that's life. You know, the first issue, the first page is her, you know, having a baby. That's shocking. But it's not. That's life. I mean, some of that stuff, the giant testicle, yes, that's 100% there for us to go, ooh. You know, same with them collecting the dragon.
Oh God.
The dragon semen. I mean, some of those are definitely there, you know, to make everybody laugh. For all of us, you know, to be 13-year-old and go ha ha ha. But a lot of that other stuff in there that they're talking about being shocking, I don't think that it's. I think it's just life. I mean, so yes, some of those things are definitely in there to, you know, to make us all go, whoa, you know. But like I said, some of that is, I think, more just the fact is this is life, and they're not afraid to make sure it's put in there, and it's shown in some sense. Like I said, unless depending on how limited your view of the world is, and then it definitely becomes more shocking. My parents were to read this book. My parents are the stereotypical 1950s kind of parents. They would completely lose their minds reading the comic. My mother would secretly love it, but she would never tell you that she loved it, kind of a thing. But yeah. Anyway, that's my take on the shock that's in Saga. I mean, and that's just, like I said, just my personal take on it. So I don't know. Anybody get Cry Havoc? So what do we think of this? Is Cry Havoc #1, written by Simon Spurrier, art by Ryan Kelly, and then 3 colorists on it to represent 3 different areas that the main character operates in: Afghanistan, London, and
someplace called the Red Place.
The Red Place. Whatever the Red Place is. Mm-hmm. So, what do we think for our #1?
I thought it was okay. I wasn't that impressed with it, but I don't know how much that has to do with me that being one of the last books I read and kind of being tired, or just not really. I wasn't connecting with the story. I like some of the themes. I like some of the things he's playing with. I like that Heart of Darkness vibe of play of that mixed with the werewolf kind of thing. But I thought it was okay. I wasn't blown away about it.
Brandon?
I think I enjoyed it more than Christina, but I wouldn't say it was like a knock your socks off first issue. Having 3 colorists at once didn't change anything. It wasn't distracting at all. It worked for me anyway. For me, I think the biggest draw for me in this book was Ryan Kelly's art. I love Ryan Kelly's art like you do.
Same here.
It was fantastic, but the story, like I said, I thought it was intriguing. It's intriguing enough for me to continue with it, but I wouldn't say it was something I'm completely blown away by. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. I'm not blown away by either. I enjoyed the issue. Mm-hmm. I like all the elements that are in it. In the fact that we've got this, you know, girl who's plays the violin. She's a busker. She gets attacked one night by what seems to be a werewolf. She ends up contracting that. We kind of got this kind of current story. That's kind of the past kind of story. We're kind of getting filled in on what happened to get her to where she's at now. She's in Afghanistan. She's like hooked. She's like a consultant of sorts. She's hooked up with a whole other mercenary group. Basically, they're kind of like black ops, quasi CIA sort of a thing. The people she's all with are all weird or cursed or gifted, depending on how you want to look at it. And I think the group she's with is going to give us kind of the gambit of how they feel about who they are and what they are. To hunt somebody down. Somebody else that's part of their group went rogue. They brought her in because she has a nose, because she, even in normal human form, she has a canine's hyper sense of smell to track and whatnot, and they've got her there to do that. Now, how they know how she got into the military and become this group, we don't know any of that. There's big gaps in the story as far as that goes. I'm assuming we'll kind of get told those things as we flash back and forth between these different things. There's just lots of elements I like about it, and nothing was wrong in this issue for me to want to continue to read it. I like werewolves. I'm curious as to how much gender actually plays in this. She is a lesbian. I don't know how important that is, or that's just a thing that she is. We're getting to the point now in comics where, for me, where somebody being not straight isn't a story in and of itself, which I like. That we kind of are moving past. I feel like we're moving past that to some degree. The story doesn't have to be about them being, gay. That's just what they are. So I'm happy with that aspect of it, up to this point. And I love Ryan Kelly's art. I mean, I think Ryan Kelly does expressions and rich backgrounds, and everything always kind of feels filled into me and whatnot. So I'm kind of excited for that. The whole werewolf thing, I don't know if she really is a werewolf. They kind of imply that maybe it's something else, or it's whatever you think it is. So there's a lot of little things like that I'm intrigued about it. So
I like the back matter. It was annotations for each page. I thought that was quite interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't read through most of it, but yeah, it was quite interesting.
Yeah, I read some of it, but yeah, the annotations, it really literally gives you this on this page. This is what I wanted on this page. It's basically like if you threw in your CD that's got the commentary while you're watching it. That's what this is. This is because it literally, you could go back and go, page 4, we're talking about these Persian hunters, and it actually has web pages to go to if you want further information. They talk about hyenas in it, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to the next issue. I think it's going to be cool stuff. Any others you want to talk about?
Wild's End.
Wild's End. What you think, Brandon? This is issue 5 of 6.
You just knew, eh? The way this couple issues have been paced, you kind of knew something was going to happen, and I was just waiting for that hammer to fall. And I don't know. What I'm worried is I'm worried how definitive this miniseries is going to be. If they're going to end it with this miniseries, or if they have more story to tell beyond this. I don't know what the longevity of this series is going to be.
So are you wanting there to be more after this, or do you really want this to have a definitive ending? Whoever walks away, and who doesn't.
Well, I would like the book to continue if there's more story to tell. If there's no story to tell, then don't prolong it for the sake of prolonging it.
Right.
Right. But
I mean, so are you saying that because here's my thing. I've enjoyed every issue.
Yeah.
But the issue before this, especially, it felt. I mean, other than finding the ships, for instance, most of this issue and the issue before it, to me, really, kind of felt like we were treading water. We were just waiting to get towards where we're at right now. This issue was really exciting. This issue, lots of kind of action and that sort of stuff going on. Of course, we're still missing the people that are on the cover. They weren't even in this issue.
No.
Right? So, where do they land in the whole thing? So, I'm enjoying it, and I'm really liking. I'm liking it, and I would be happy if they've got a reason to continue more to collect whatever the next thing is going to be. But the way you're talking, and that's my sense of it too, is it feels like maybe they pushed their limit on what's here. The first series of this, all of it felt seamless and put together. Like I said, for me, this one, there were some issues in there. It kind of felt like we were treading water to get to this. This was a really exciting issue. I really loved this issue. Loved all the characterization. Hate to see what happened to Foxy, because I really like that character.
Shall we have a moment of
He was my
silence?
favorite.
Right. The kind of drunk poacher. I kind of liked him because he was way more practical than most everybody else there. But yeah. So it's kind of a for me it's kind of a both ways. I'd rather this end really solidly than kind of still leave it kind of
Right.
twisting something.
This does feel like the last movie they're going to do.
I think it would be cool to kind of see these characters again in another miniseries, but I think there's only so much that you can deal with them having to deal with these aliens.
Right.
I feel like with 2 miniseries, I think that's enough. I hope there is a definitive ending, because I feel like it would just be stretching it way too thin if they keep on adding another issue after issue.
Yeah. The next series should be basically after this. They should be done with the aliens, and it should just be what's his name? The main character, the dog.
Slipaway, I think.
It should just be him out painting his house and being harassed by the writer across the street or something. I'd read that. I'd read 4 issues of these guys just all in town, interacting with each other over, who kicked the dog or something, and I would have fun with that. Then you're right. For me to prolong this alien invasion.
Yeah.
At least in this woods. Because I would think that by now they would figure out how to get the hell out of the woods and away from the military and away from everything else they need to, because clearly they're a bunch of idiots. So.
I agree.
But I like the characters, I like the vibe, I like the setting. So, more but not of the same.
Yeah.
Any other books we want to talk about? Did you get to any other books, Christina?
East to West.
All right, on. Issue 24.
Yeah, I enjoyed this issue. Just wasn't my favorite. It was kind of slow, I think, which is usual. It's what is it? It's usual Hickman stuff. But I don't know. I guess there was a focus on what's his name? I can't remember his name. The Chosen. What is he called?
He's not like the Prophet. What the hell is he called? Something like that, though. I don't remember now. I'm horrible. Isn't that horrible? I can't remember names.
Prophet Orion, I think is what he's called.
Yeah, right.
And
Prophet. Yeah.
I didn't really care for him.
Yeah.
Or for what he had for his part of the story. I guess it gives explanation to the letter that Freeman received at the end of the last issue, which was nice.
Right.
But other than that, I didn't really care for that. It was nice to see the very last issue of the arc, but it was nice to see him for a couple pages, just setting up, I guess, what would be continuing Looking for Babylon, I think was he was up to.
Just some beautiful artwork in it, and I don't know. I thought there was some curious stuff. I mean, I liked seeing all the letters going out to everybody. The grim version of Harry Potter, tie the message to the owls. Of course, the message is off the skin of people's backs, and it's being delivered by some, I don't know, mutant, bloody bat creature. But those messages being put out, it feels like, something really. I mean, there's all this stuff cooking. There's all this stuff boiling everywhere, all these politics and all this kind of stuff. And then there's this whole kind of end of the world thing that's coming. So we see those messages come out, which is pretty brilliant, I think. I liked that part of it. The 3 horsemen of the apocalypse, the stuff that goes on with them, do you think they're gestating? Do you think they're like, because they boil these pots of meat and they pour them into these holes and then they step into the holes. So these giant kind of columns of twisted meat now. Do you think they're empowering themselves to be bigger?
I think so. I mean, isn't that the material they came out of at the very beginning as new children?
Right.
Is it something like that? So I think that's what they're doing. I think they're either getting older or they're changing again the way they look or something like that for the oncoming apocalypse. Right. That's what it looked like to me.
Yeah. And then and then we touch back, like you said, touch back with Death, to get back, kind of hit back into the picture a little bit, and of course our Ranger, our Texas Ranger at the end there, who's not a character I've ever been that interested in, but I'm curious to see what he's got going at the end of this. So you say is this the end of an arc?
Yeah, it is. I think it comes back in April. I think with issue 25.
Okay. I mean, I just always like this. I mean, go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say that Hickman's arcs never really end. It's just a stopping point, and then he continues on a couple months later. There isn't really an arc, so to speak. That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah. I mean, it's a really rich book. I think it's really cool. I mean, yeah, it's a it takes a while to get to the stuff, but when you get to it, it's all brilliant, and you'll get 4 or 5 issues of just absolute craziness, and then he starts building the next things up, and then it starts again, kind of a thing. And it's another book that 24 issues seems like it's been around longer than that. It's really rich. It's just really rich. It's get it in trades if you haven't been on all along. Get it in trades. I think it's coming out in like 2 big hardbacks too. There's like a deluxe hardback that's a little oversized. That would be a cool way to get this too. I'm tempted to get that, to have it set on my shelf and look sexy while I have my singles in the box. So, yeah, good stuff. I really enjoy it. Like everything about it. Good stuff. I read Monstress. I won't talk tons about it because I know Brandon hasn't read it yet. Kind of more of the same. We get some more kind of background. We get to see some more of what's inside our one-armed heroine. Is she? I don't know if she's a hero or not. I don't know if that's the proper verbiage for her. I love this character, this little fox person. I want to say she. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I want to say she. Her. She's kind of riding along, and she's like bears witness to a lot of horrible stuff, and is quite frightened. But I think she's going to stick around for a while too. We have this greater mythical mystery with this whole magic, versus the mundane going on, kind of a thing. Art in it continues to be brilliant. I think we've got a month gap now before the next issue because, of course, they gave us like 3 issues worth of comics in issue number 1, so now the artist has to kind of catch back up again, I think. But great characters. The two-tailed cat, I still think is pretty cool. Did you read this issue, Christina?
Oh yeah. I enjoyed it, but yeah, like you said, I feel like it was just more of the same. I think more setup for the oncoming issues. I really like the way the back matter, Professor Tam Tam. I like that he's giving us little snippets. I think it's adorable. Yeah. But yeah, I enjoyed this issue.
Yeah. If you're kind of it has a manga kind of feel to it. The art and stuff does in a way. The way some of that's drawn. If you're somebody who kind of sits on the fence of you read that and not sure you're interested in American or Western or European comics, this might be for you. I'll report back. My kids read a lot of manga and not so much regular comic books as a whole. I'll get back when they've read these because I think once they sit down and read them, they'll really dig them because it kind of plays on both ends of the fence as far as that kind of goes. I mean, some of the storyline and the story idea is some of the stuff I've seen in some of the books that they're reading. So kind of cool in that sense too. But you don't have to read it backwards. I want to talk Jacked. This is issue number 3. Vertigo book of 6. I don't know. I really love this book. It's this kind of it dwells heavily in middle age white male mediocrity and what that might feel like, and trying to be something when you're nothing, kind of a thing. This guy takes these pills, which are basically supposed to be kind of like, they're supposed to pep him up and make him a little sharper so he can go out and get a job and all that kind of stuff. In his case, it basically turns him into superhuman. He doesn't really get hurt. He has super strength. He ends up getting himself involved with his neighbors who are drug dealers and drug smugglers. He beats the guy up really badly who's beating on his wife. So now he's hooked up with the wife, not hooked up as in sexually, but hooked up with her because he didn't kill the guy. He just put him in the hospital, of course. He's attached to more scary kind of drug dealers. Those guys are trying to figure out who it is to beat their guy up. So there's all kinds of chaos in there. He keeps thinking he's not going to take the pills, but then he feels miserable, so he takes the pills, and then he feels awesome, and then he gets himself even further involved with this whole drug smuggling thing. Because, I mean, he's sitting around, he doesn't have much of a life. He spends most of his time looking at porn on the internet, and he's getting ready to Google this stuff, and he decides to Google his name, and his name doesn't show up anywhere on Google. He's clearly a nobody. He decides he wants to do something to make himself into a somebody. He knows he has to deal with these drug dealers in some sense because he's worried they're going to come and figure out who he is and come and get him. So it'd be better if he went to them instead. So now he's cooked up this idea of how he's going to kind of try and fake being a superhero and set these drug dealers up and get them all arrested, and then he can get off the drugs and go back to being his his normal self and whatnot. And it's not working out so well for him. But as well as books, maybe it just appeals to me because of the whole, not that I'm in middle-aged angst or anything, but I can kind of see it, and it's written very well for that sense and whatnot. So I really have been having fun with it. So it's been lots of fun. Been enjoying it. I'm not sure if anybody else is reading the book, but I think it's pretty fun.
It sounds like the plot from this movie Bradley Cooper's in, where he takes some pills. He's a normal guy, actually, kind of down on his luck, whatever. He takes some pills, and it gives him like these mental powers to actually kind of be like a genius type of thing. It kind of runs into the same type of plot in that book, so it actually sounds pretty interesting.
Yeah. In his case, it's not mental, though. It's all physical. He just gets physical. Okay. Right. I mean, he can kick doors off of cars. He picks up a dumpster and throws it across an alley and greases a couple guys underneath it and whatnot. And when he does it, he's just like, okay, I guess I am going to leave my mark on the world. A big, red, greasy one, but... And, of course, he's a self-proclaimed pussy. He's like, I'm a pussy, man. I don't fight out whatever. But, of course, he's like, but it's pretty easy to fight when you punch and you can put your hand through things and it doesn't hurt you, kind of stuff. So, I mean, so at the same time, he's freaking over the fact that he's in these fights because he does not want to fight. I mean, he'd rather curl up into a ball and disappear, but at the same time, he also has a very high level of I want to survive. So he ends up, executing these things that he would never do because he's put in these extremely dangerous situations and whatnot. So it's kind of fun. I don't know. I got other books that I could talk about, but I'm not going to. Otherwise, it's going to be just me talking. Anybody have any other books they want to talk about? No. News-wise, anything out there in the quasi-independent realm that's going on?
I saw that Riverdale, the Archie series, was officially picked up by CW.
Oh, it was? Okay.
Yeah. So, I think I'm excited about it. I think if they kind of go the route that the new relaunch is going, where it's like a modern kind of take on it, which I think they would do, but I think I'd be excited for it. Because I'm enjoying the new series, so...
I wonder what they would do to make it Archie-like, as opposed to just being another CW show.
Yeah, I don't know. Other than just having the names of the characters and.
Right. I mean, I'll be checking it out because I'm just curious. I'm not like a huge Archie fan or anything, but curious to see what they do with it. As a product, that'd be kind of interesting to see what that plays out for them. Yeah, I can't think of anything that's out there in the world of like independent books and whatnot.
Did any of you watch the first episode of Lucifer?
I did.
Yeah.
What'd you think of it?
I liked it. I mean, I thought it was fun. I mean, I don't think it's. I mean, in very, 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 very many ways, it's nothing like in either of the comics.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's kind of like it's Lucifer in name only. There's some vibes to it that match up to up to the comic book. But I mean, I thought it was fun. I mean, the guy's kind of Lucifer's kind of smarmy, over charming, kind of a thing. I mean, I don't know. So I thought it was amusing. I don't know how long the show will quite honestly last the way it is and stuff. I actually like the female protagonist. It's kind of strange. She almost has things about her that are like the comic book Effigy, in the fact that she's kind of like was a movie star first and then becomes a policeman kind of a thing. So, but what'd you think of it?
It made me really want Olive Garden. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. It hints at some interesting things going on in the show long term. With the angel that keeps showing up and telling him that he needs to go back to his role as the Lord of Hell because things are going to get out of control, and I'm sure that's going to be the kind of prolonged storyline. The whole detective end of it lets every show let's solve a crime, the crime procedural part of it. I don't know. I mean, there's so many of those out there, and I really think as a whole that's what this show is going to be, right? It's going to just be another version of it's another version of I don't know. No, not Cagney and Lacey so much as like what's the show with Nathan Fillion in it, where he's the writer and the Castle. Where they've got one person who's actually a policeman, and then you've got somebody who there's no reason on God's green earth that they'd actually be tied up with the there's a couple of shows out there that were like that, and then that's what's going to be. Somehow he ends up being a consultant that gets to hang out with them and stuff. So I don't know. I'll keep watching it because 2 other people in my household seem to like it. So,
Billy, did you read any Lucifer before seeing it?
I have not, no. But
Excuse me,
want
guys. I have to go.
Oh,
Okay.
thanks for coming on, Christina.
Yeah, you guys take care. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Yeah, I haven't read any Lucifer comics yet. I want to. I think I might pick up some like the trades or the books. I think they collected like quite a few issues in the books and everything. And I think they actually might have the first book on Hoopla or something, so I might check that out. But yeah, I enjoyed the show. I'm kind of a fan of like the police procedurals. I know it's like a kind of safe way of doing shows, but I'm just a fan of that kind of every episode there's a different crime to solve and that kind of thing. And it seemed like in the next issue, the preview, he's going to be like losing some of his powers and becoming more human, which I thought would be kind of interesting to see how that works out. But yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I just it seems this. I mean, I think it's police procedurals. It seems a safe way to have the character in there, and it's like I said, it's so far removed from what the stories themselves is that it just seems strange that they would buy the rights to make the show and then make it something that it isn't. I mean, they could have easily named this show Lucifer, and I don't know. I'm sure they could have gotten away with making this show and not having to have paid Warner Brothers a dime.
Yeah.
I think.
It's a pretty common name.
Yeah.
Well, as much as the show Once Upon a Time, clearly a large chunks of it have the exact same thing to do as Fables.
Oh, yeah.
But they don't have to pay Bill Willingham or any of those people anything, even though they're both playing with the same kind of ideas. I mean, yet nobody owns the rights to the name Lucifer. I mean, it's if it's in the Bible, it's awfully hard to have somebody claim rights to it. So I don't know. I don't know, but it's a fun show for what it is. But like I said though, it's it's so clearly not, largely not the comic book. So, not to knock either one, because the comic books, what I've read of it, I really enjoyed, and this first show was fun for what it was. Yeah. Alrighty. Anything else we want to talk about while we're here? Parting words. Read more comics.
Anything good coming out next week?
Oh, you know what? I haven't even looked to see what's coming out next week.
Midnighter, I know, is coming out.
Okay, I do have a book coming out. I was thinking there's just no way I could even have any comics with as many comics than I got this week. What is coming out next week?
So am I the only one who's still picking up Green Arrow, or did anyone else still hanging on?
You are the only one picking up Green Arrow. The only one ever. They have a sales of one.
And it's going to turn
Here's
around.
some parting words. Don't click the wrong link when you're...
Yeah. Billy went down the rabbit hole.
Now here's something interesting. Bizarro comes out in trade. Start next week.
Oh, yeah.
So, but the other 6. I mean, I don't see anything from Batmite or anything from
Six Pack.
Yeah.
So
They all came out about the same time. So
Yeah.
they all did. 100% came out at the same time. They all came out the same month, began and ended at the same time. So clearly, Bizarro was the popular book.
Yeah.
So that's why they put it out in trade. So me and Mike, we chose right.
Yeah.
That's fast, isn't it, for DC? That seems really fast when they put out trade, because DC seems horribly slow at putting trades out for stuff.
I know the Batman title they do real good. They get that out pretty quick. But everything else, Bizarro. Yeah, that just ended 2 months ago.
Yeah,
that is quick.
Yeah. So, wow, I think that DC books, I think Midnighter is the only DC book I'm getting. Well, I think I'm still getting Batgirl. I mean, I've dropped Batgirl, but I think it's still on my pull for a couple more.
You're still getting
months.
Detective, right?
Oh, is it come out this week?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'm definitely still getting Detective. So.
And Swamp Thing.
Yeah, and this issue 2 of Swamp Thing, yeah. Unfollow as far as the Vertigo stuff, I'll still getting it. Yeah. What's coming out from like anything image-wise coming out? What's coming out?
Paper Girls, right?
Paper Girls, yep.
Okay. Anybody trying Mirror?
Mm-mm.
Number 1 issue of it comes out. I think that's a Emma Reyes book, right? That's kind of a peel out of the stuff that was going on that would have been in 8 House, because 8 House, Brandon Graham's kind of anthology-ish, kind of let's all play in the same universe but tell your own story. That book basically fell apart, but everybody who had stories going on in those are going to just produce their own books. So I'm going to be checking that out. Next issue of Pretty Deadly also comes out. I'll be picking that up also in Shudder. Yeah.
So question I have, only because I'm getting ready to buy it, but I didn't know if there was another version of it. So I saw that it's not on here. Rebels. It sounds like they're going to do a consolidated trade on Rebels. Did they have like previous volumes for the ones that have been released, or is this like the first crack at a trade?
That'll be the first crack at a trade.
Okay, nice.
And they're going to put all 10 issues together?
That's what it said on the thing I was at.
Nice, that's cool. That's great. Yeah, but yeah, this is the first
crack at it. Okay.
Yeah, I'm almost positive it's the first trade to come out of it. So what's coming out Marvel-wise?
Miles Morales,
Doctor Strange.
Spider-Man.
Oh yeah, Miles Morales, Spider-Man.
Is it?
Vision.
I saw that you mentioned Doc Strange is going to go up in price in a little bit.
Yep. Oh yeah. Starting issue 6, I believe, is what it was. Yeah, it's going to go up $1, so it'll be $4.99.
Yeah.
Just for that one issue, or
I don't know, because I mean that was the latest issue that I'd ordered, and if the price changes, then Discount Comic Book Service sends me an email to let me know, hey, this has gone up in price, kind of a thing. So I don't know if it's like a crossover or it's a tie-in to something else, and that's why I can't imagine that book going up to being a $5 book all the time. We're not there yet, are we? I know Marvel's pushing it, but we're not there yet, are we?
I hope not.
I gotta remember to go to the store next Wednesday, because I don't have the Vision on my pull yet to make sure I don't miss getting that.
That's one of the big highlights for me. I love that book.
Yeah, I'm happy I jumped on. It's pretty awesome.
X is Life After, number 3.
Nice. You caught up on that now, Brandon? Did you ever get issue? Was it 2 you missed?
I have them. I'm gonna read them before Wednesday.
Great.
I hope. I say that now.
Well, I'm just glad that you got it, because I know the last time we kind of really talked about it, you had missed it and you weren't sure when it was.
I had trouble getting issue 1. I got 2.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So good. Glad you got it. Well, okay. I think we'll call it a night. Lots of books to read. I still got like 5 books to read. So that'll hold me over until next week. That's good. Anyway, thank you guys for coming on and chatting comics with me. And once again, thanks to Christina for coming on and talking books. And hopefully we'll be back next week to talk more comics. Anyway, have a good night, everybody.
Ba-ba-ba.